Welcome to Gridiron Gamblers here on Pub Sports Radio, Week 11 NFL breakdown show alongside my co-host, the great Andy Molitor. Andy, how are you on this Tuesday evening, my friend?
I've got what you've got. I think you finally got me sick. I'm finally under the weather. It's getting cold here. Yeah, I'm a little. I'll try to mute when I'm hacking up a lung here, but it's like my flu game. I don't give a shit. I'm toughing it out. So sorry if some of my breakdowns aren't as good as normal, but I think it was an okay week. It was saved by. I said this to someone yesterday too. I always, and it's you guys in the comments. Like whenever I do the deep dive or this or anything where I'm talking, there's always such good commenters and they always have good prop plays. And I always remember I say it like, oh shit, that's a good idea. And then I just never go play it. But like everybody, multiple people had said like, hey, Saquon is going to have a massive day. So that kind of saved my weekend. I did some Saquon ladders where I bet, a bunch on him to go over his rushing total. And then, how you just laddered up smaller bets all the way up to like 150 yards. So him hitting that saved my ass on Sunday. So him having like 75 at halftime was a sight for sore eyes, especially since I bet the Giants as well. So thanks to anybody who pushed me to bet some prop bets this weekend.
You had a good week too. Like you weren't, I fell apart this past Sunday. It's worst week of the year for me, and it hurt, man. Right in the old prison pocket, right in the old bottom mouth. I needed to succeed just because I had ascended my MLB futures, and I lost quite a bit of money on the Blue Jays, and I put that pressure on myself, and I failed miserably. Obviously, as soon as the Raiders bets were in, we saw the market move drastically towards the Colts. And then seeing Matt Ryan under center, I was in huge trouble. The 49ers first quarter and first half, look, there's 4 weeks in a row. The Chargers had been destroyed in the first quarter, 4 weeks in a row. And then they have a big first quarter. I got all that money, almost all of that money back, live betting the Niners. And then we live bet the Commanders last night and the under, and I had an under 47.5 that I cashed out with about 4 minutes left in the game, which I thought was a mistake until that horrific touchdown near the end. It was a rough week for me though. 2-8, down 7 units, worst week of the year for me. Denver +3 was a loser. Denver, Tennessee under 39 was a winner. You talk about the unders in Broncos games, now 8-1 this year. Cleveland +3.5 was a loser. The Raiders bets were atrocious. Arizona versus LA Rams under 43.5 should have cashed. I beat the final number by 4.5 points, and there's a touchdown with 14 seconds left, a meaningless touchdown that got me. 49ers, both bets were terrible. I added New Orleans, Pittsburgh under 39.5, which was a casher.
Nice.
And then even though all week I said I won't take the Jaguars unless I get a 10, I bet them 5 minutes before kickoff at 9.5. and lost that one. So it was a tough one for me, and the year is still going well, but that was a real bad loss for me. So now just a hair above 60.3%, 67-44, up 18.5 units. My ROI plus 16.67%, average line minus 110. If you had offered me that record at the beginning of the year at this point, I would take it in a heartbeat. So I don't need to be too down on myself, but I am a little frustrated. Andy, you went 4-4 this past week for official picks here on the show.
Did you say I had 8 plays?
Yeah, you had 8 plays. Yeah, I love it. Seahawks money line was a loser. That Detroit-Chicago over 48 was too easy. And we'll go over I know that everybody's going to be betting Bears overs right now. I have yet to make any bets this week, but that was an easy one for you. Denver, Tennessee under 39. You got us on, was gorgeous. Browns +3.5 was a loser. Giants -6.5, and the Texans team total under. I got scared off. You made them official picks here on the show. Then I just saw all this market move towards the Texans. Scared me off. Both of those would have cashed. Your Colts team total under 19.5 lost. Cowboys -5 lost. And your Cardinals +3 at +105 was an easy casher. That's where we stand right now, 10 weeks into the season. Shout out to all the cappers joining us. It is great to see you all. Sammy Calmer, Sky Dragon ready to go. Papa Calls, RVD 420. And there, Sky Dragon says week 10 was a great week. My totals won, my sides won, my props won. Dallas can't stop the run. It was wild to see Dallas fall apart there. That's the first time, and we'll go over all those stats, but that's the first time they've ever given up a 14-point fourth quarter lead in the history of their franchise. Yeah. Cheshire Cat, Sammy Calmer, Birdie, Harold Williams. Great to see all you guys. Let's get to work. No more discussion of the week that was. Let's talk about the week that will be. We start on Thursday, November 17th, Andy, 8:15 p.m. Eastern, and this one looks like a good Thursday nighter. Tennessee Titans 6-3, 3-2 on the road at the Green Bay Packers, 4-6, 3-2 at home. We're at Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin, 25 Fahrenheit, cloudy, 11 miles per hour. We'll start with the line history here. Oops, that's not it. We'll start with the line history here. In this one, I guess I got to bring it up. I apologize. I thought I had it up. That was the wrong thing. Let me just pull it up here. While I'm doing that, I'll talk about where the cash lies. Right now, on the Thursday nighter, we have 10,012 tickets in. Over here. We have 54% of the tickets on the Green Bay Packers. And we have 80% of the cash. So big bets coming in on the Green Bay Packers. Packers open up at -1.5, and they're now -3. That -3 got up to -120 today. It's come back 10 cents. But big bets coming in on the Packers and the market moving in their direction. From a total standpoint, it opened up at 40.5, and it got up to 42. Now sitting at 41. Going over to the cash flow here, it's wild that it's gone up because 63% of the tickets and 98% of cash is on the under. But it went up to 42 from a 40.5 opening. The Titans won for the sixth time in 7 games, 17-10 victory at home over the Broncos. Tannehill returned from his ankle injury, and he was strong. That flea flicker was perfectly timed, but I thought I was in business in that game with the Broncos +3 in the under. Tannehill finished 19-36 for 255 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Nick Westbrook-Ikhine caught 5 passes for 119 yards and 2 touchdowns. First career 2-touchdown game. He didn't have a touchdown this year. Robert Woods just continues to underwhelm. 2 catches for 10 yards despite being targeted 7 times. He has 4 catches for 36 yards over his last 3 games. Derrick Henry was slowed by the Broncos. 53 yards on 19 carries. That snapped the NFL rushing leader streak of 5 straight 100-yard rushing games. The Titans defense swarmed Russell Wilson, finished with 6 sacks and 18 quarterback hits. Terrence Mitchell had the game-ending interception. The Titans did all this without 5 defensive starters. So Jeffrey Simmons, their lineman, a 2021 Pro Bowler, their safety Amani Hooker, outside linebacker Bud Dupree, cornerback Christian Fulton. He was scratched pregame. And then they lose 3 more defenders during the game. They lose their DB Lonnie Johnson. He hurt his hamstring, carted to the locker room. They lose cornerback Elijah Molden. He hurt his groin. He'd just been activated off IR. And then they lose another quarterback in Caleb Farley with an injured back. How long can this defense continue playing at this level with all the injuries that they are facing is the most important question in this game. They keep seemingly handling all of these injuries, all of this. So let's move on to the Packers here. They snapped their 5-game losing streak in a big 31-28 overtime comeback victory over the Cowboys. Rodgers, 14-20, 224 yards, 3 touchdowns. Christian Watson, second-round pick, got all 3 TD passes. He had 4 catches for 107 yards. He entered the season with 10 catches for 88 yards. He's been dealing with injuries all through his rookie season. He's the first Packers rookie since Keith Woodside in 1988 to have multiple touchdown catches in a game. Aaron Jones, 24 carries for 130 yards and a touchdown. He caught 2 passes for 18 yards. The defense struggled at times in their first game without Rashawn Gary, who's done for the year. They finished with 2 sacks and 6 quarterback hits. They're also missing Devondre Campbell, linebacker, with a knee injury, and their quarterback, Eric Stokes. Stokes is not likely to play again for the rest of the year. Rudy Ford had 2 interceptions for 68 yards. The Packers struggle against the run. This is not good when you're facing Derrick Henry. Tony Pollard went for 115 yards and a touchdown on 22 carries. Malik Davis went for 38 on 5 attempts. That's 5.67 yards per attempt. You have Devondre Campbell and Chris Barnes out at middle linebacker. This Packers defense allows 140.6 yards per game. Are you surprised that the market is moving so quickly towards the Green Bay Packers? Andy, take it away, the Thursday nighter at Lambeau, Titans-Packers.
Yeah, this is tough because Green Bay did look good on offense. They're starting to, we're seeing the thing you see every year that Green Bay plays well in the second half, and Aaron Rodgers starts to find a rapport with a wide receiver. Like Watson looked really good. And that's against probably a better defense than they're facing this week. So I understand it. I'm scared to be betting on a team that hasn't shown me multiple games where this offense can play well. And really, like the loss of Rashawn Gary and then the starting cornerback, couple of them, like you've had nasty injuries across both of these secondaries. I hate doing this on a Thursday because it's tough for coaches, even good coaches, and I consider both these to be above average coaches, to put together an offensive game plan on a short week. But I kind of want to bet the over here, just because the Titans should be able to go with their game plan, get what they want on the ground. Like they won another game. The Titans have not been winning games that they should win. Like clearly, when you look at the box scores, it's another game where they were outgained by the Broncos and they won a game. I think they've only had like one or two games all year where they've had more yardage than their opponent. They're 6-3 somehow, but they should be able to just go with the game plan of, hey, we're going to run the ball because this is an easy team to run on, and we have Derrick Henry and Tannehill another week back in the saddle. You're starting to get some health in the wide receiver core. I think both offenses should be able to play well. I don't think seeing the Broncos is like a true test of your defense. Like that Broncos offense is pretty rough. So the Tennessee Titans defense is a lot worse than what we saw last week, giving up only 10 points. This is Green Bay should be able to attack this secondary if we're starting to see anything with Watson. And really, like this Titans defense is not good. I think Green Bay, if they're getting back into stride at all, what we saw against a decent Dallas defense, they might just tear up the secondary this week. And Tennessee should be able to answer with Derrick Henry. I'm you know what? I don't have a single play yet. I'm coming into this. Usually we have to do this silly game where it's like, yeah, I bet this on Sunday and the number's gone, so it sucks. And sometimes with the Cardinals, it's like, well, I'd still play a +3. It's fine. But I have no plays yet. I have not made a single bet, and I think this is going to be my first one. I don't know, unless somebody tells me the weather's going to be real bad. It's been snowing. It's been snowing for 2 days here. I'm not that far from Green Bay, but everything I've looked at just now, I'm not seeing it. I kind of like this over, so I'll take an over 41 here.
Over 41 right now, available at -105 over at 5 Dimes, -108 at Heritage. I get it. I'm surprised at this market, what it's done. I'm surprised that it opened up at 40.5 and quickly shot up to 42. I just like to see how fast that happened here. So it opened up on Sunday night at Pinnacle at 7:19 p.m. 40 minutes later, a 5-cent move towards it. And then an hour after that, they moved it to 41. And then 12 hours after that, this morning at 8:25 a.m., they moved it to 42. That 42 got up to -113 when the buyback started happening, down to 41. How is this Titans defense managing to bend and not break throughout all these injuries?
Yeah, it's been really odd, and I think some of it is just opponent-based, or some of it maybe just matchup. But like the Denver offense is truly atrocious. The Chiefs game makes no sense. I don't know what happened there. Like the Chiefs have been so up and down. They're either looking like that or they're scoring 40. I can't believe that game was close. That was just maybe the one we can point at where it's like, man, is Mahomes really your MVP? But like the week before that, they played the Texans. That's a really bad offense. The Colts, right in that stretch, they only gave up 10 points there. It's probably a bit of a mirage. They played the Commanders. They played the Colts twice. The Raiders have been a struggle bus. And then early in the season, when they played a good offense in the Bills, they gave up 41. So I don't think this is a good defense. I hate putting – this is kind of a bet on the Packers, honestly. I just hate laying it with an Aaron Rodgers that's looked pretty rough. So if they get anything going on offense, this total goes over.
I think the over makes a ton of sense. I think it makes a ton of sense here. I mean, we look at 63% of tickets on the under and 98% of cash on the under, and they moved the total up to 42. So they were saying, we'll take all your under money. Now it's back to 41, so maybe there's some concern. But that all makes sense to me. I'm very interested in your look there, and I will spend a little bit more time with it after the show, but I think that I will be rolling with you there. Andy on the over 41 at minus 105 on the Thursday nighter Titans Packers to get his card started. Let's roll on to Sunday. We move to 1 p.m. Eastern. Chicago Bears 3-7, 1-4 on the road. The Atlanta Falcons 4-6, 3-2 a homer at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. Let's start with the line history here, and I know a lot of people will be looking at this over. First, though, the side opened up Atlanta -3 at minus 106. That got to -3 at minus 120 this morning at 10 a.m. It's come back 9 cents. So it's -3 at minus 111. From a total standpoint, this opened up at 49.5. I know some offshores had it at 48.5, but this opened at Pinnacle at 49.5, now at 50.5. It is juiced to the under at 50.5. Let's take a look at the cash flow for this one. We have just 4,791 tickets in, 70% of the tickets and 79% of the cash on the Bears. 70 and 79 on the Bears. Market not moving towards them. Interesting. And then we have 79% of tickets and 90% of cash on the over. Okay, let's get to work here. Bears coming off the wild 31-30 loss at home to the Lions. Bears' last 3 games, the average point total has been 68.67 points. And they're hanging a 50, and everybody's all over the over thus far, but it's only moved up a point. 2 at some of the offshores. Justin Fields was 12 of 20 for 167 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. He also ran 13 times for 147 yards and 2 touchdowns. He'd run for 178 the previous week. That's the highest rushing total by an NFL quarterback in a regular season game since at least 1940. Only quarterback in the Super Bowl era with multiple rushing touchdowns of 60-plus yards in the same season. Both came in the last 2 games. Wild. The interception was a mistake, and it was costly, and it was returned for a pick 6. Now, he did answer that by running 67 yards for a score, but it did show some of the issues that he's been dealing with, making bad mistakes. He should not have thrown the ball there. But the Bears as a team ran 35 times for 258 yards. First team in Super Bowl era with at least 225 in 5 straight games. Cole Kmet led receivers with 4 catches for 74 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did look like he got hurt at the end of the game, and there's no information that I've got thus far about if he's fine or what went down. The Bears now have put up 29-plus points in 4 straight weeks, and their defense looks bad, unable to get any pressure. They got no pressure on Goff. Jack Sanborn had 12 tackles and both the Bears sacks, but there was very little pressure happening. Sky Dragon took the over 49. Says Chicago can score and play no defense. Not as big a bet as in weeks past because I don't trust Atlanta to do much of anything. And Saturated saying Herbert to the IR. Wow. That new information there I will look up. Thank you for sharing that with us. I did not know that Herbert. Oh, are you talking about Khalil?
Yeah. Khalil Herbert is. Yeah, he got put on the IR today.
Okay. Sorry,
that's Montgomery back there.
Talking about Khalil. Okay. So Herbert on the IR. Then Falcons come in off extra rest and prep after losing 25-15 at Carolina on Thursday. Mariota was 19 of 30 for 186 yards, 2 touchdowns, interception. He also ran 3 times for 43 yards. Atlanta came in averaging 162.9 yards on the ground. I guess you could say they were held to 138, but it was very easy to defend them. The Panthers just filled the box and dared Mariota to beat them, and he was incapable of doing it. Demir Bird caught 3 passes for 58 yards. Drake London 5 for 38 and a touchdown. Kyle Pitts just not getting the numbers that we saw last year. 2 catches for 28 yards. Defense couldn't get enough pressure on PJ Walker. 1 sack, 3 quarterback hits. The Panthers continually gashed them on the ground. A season high 232 yards. Now Atlanta averages 23.2 points per game. They're a 3-point favorite here. You're going to need to have them help out if this game gets over. Take it away for us, Andy. Is the Bears-Falcons over low-hanging fruit?
Maybe, but not as low-hanging as weeks past. I worry about the Falcons' offense. Their insistence on just running the ball and becoming one-dimensional. Maybe it's a week where the Bears' defense doesn't look like, a high school defense out there. But, yeah, this Bears' offense could continue to have their day. I'm leaning towards a bet, and it looks like Papa Calls has already hit it. Just isolate the Bears in this one. The Bears as an underdog or the Bears team total over. If you think this offense is going to continue to be a fun offense, and I guess in the case if he throws a pick six, who gives a shit? He's getting the ball right back. That's good. It's like Jameis Winston, just getting the ball right back, guys. So, yeah, Chicago team. If there's a team total on over on the Bears, that's at 24. That's 23 and a half, 24. That's something I'm very interested in.
Yeah,
because the last couple of weeks, the Falcons' offense has looked, kind of dismal, and it's been against some teams where, the Chargers are one of the worst run defenses in the league, and Atlanta was running up and down the field, just couldn't get drive sustained, couldn't get it done in the red zone. Only put up 17 points. The Panthers are not a good team. They only put up 15 there. Like I worry about this offense. Like we've seen them. It's kind of a feast or famine. Like, yeah, a few weeks back, 37 in an overtime game against the Panthers. Early in the season, they had some higher scoring outputs, but the last 2 weeks don't give me a lot of confidence to just keep playing these overs. So maybe just isolating it and playing the Bears team total over. I don't see how this offense stops. The Komet thing has me a little worried as he's starting to build kind of a rapport, and he seemed to get a lot of targets. So I'm going to hold off on this one for now, but that's a pretty hard lean on a team total I like.
So possible team total over 23.5 for the Bears. That's at minus 113 right now at Pinnacle. It was funny with the Bears Lions game. I knew a lot of people on the over, and I was surprised the market wasn't moving quicker or heavier to the over. I didn't move on it. And after the 0-0 first quarter, I thought, oh, good thing. Good thing I didn't move on it. And then, of course, the explosion late, and it cruises over. If you had a free bet on the side here, what would you do? Are you surprised with all the money coming in on the Bears that the market isn't moving off the 3?
I mean, sometimes it just takes a little more to move off the 3, especially we're early in the week. Wouldn't surprise me if this closes Atlanta minus 2.5, and you probably see some buyback on the Falcons. But if you made me bet a side, I'd bet the Bears just because I trust their offense more right now, which is not something I thought I'd say preseason.
What about the idea that Arthur Smith is a really good coach? Maybe he's not just a decent coach or good. Maybe he's a really good coach. And what about the buy low opportunity after they looked so bad in the rain and now come indoors? And their weakness in the secondary can't really be affected by Justin Fields. And we know there's only one thing you have to do with Fields is you have to have a spy on him and stop the run. Do you think that maybe Arthur Smith can show what kind of quality he is as a coach, and this is a possible buy low spot for the Falcons?
I'm not sure they have the speed in their secondary and even in their off-ball linebackers to properly do that. I mean, it's one thing, we can sit here and say, let's just spy him and let's not let him do that. Like, I'm sure people did that with Mike Vick for many years, and he still did it. Sometimes a guy just is better than you, and you just don't have the personnel to properly account for that. And, he didn't put up a lot of yards through the air, but he was mildly efficient. Obviously, the interception was horrid. I mean, not just bad. It was a really bad interception, but he was able to find, Komet a few times. He found Mooney a couple times. I think Pringle had a catch. Like, he's getting a lot of guys involved. He's coming along. I don't think he's going to be a good passer at the end of the year, but I don't trust Arthur Smith to put in some game plan. Maybe he's smart enough to do it, but he doesn't have the personnel to.
All right. Possible team total over 23.5 for Andy on the Bears, and I need more time with this one. Terry Walker laughing. Atlanta has a good coach. I thought he was a bad coach until I watched their beginning of the season, and I was like, I think I was wrong about Arthur Smith. Papa Cal says that look ahead line last week was Chicago plus 4.5. All right. I find it wild that there's been a move in the juice towards the Falcons when all the money's coming in on the Bears, and that's going to give me pause for sure. Let's move on. Next up for us, 1 p.m. Eastern, Cleveland Browns 3-6, 1-3 on the road at the Buffalo Bills, 6-3, 3-1 at home. We're at Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park, New York. It's cold and it's windy. 29 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy. 17 miles per hour is the wind, expected to be 17 miles per hour. Let's go over to the line history here in Browns Bills. We have The spread opening up with the Bills -8.5, -106. There's been a 5-cent move towards the Browns, 5 or 6-cent move, and it was bigger. This moved to 10 for a while, for about 11 hours this morning, and then came back to 8.5. So it moved to 10, came back to 8.5. That 8.5 was juiced up to -120. So that's interesting. Then this total opened up at 47.5 and has dropped all the way to 43.5. Wow. Let's take a look at the cash flow here in this one. We have 7,780 tickets in, 55% of the tickets, 54% of the cash on the Browns. No real help there. 79% tickets, 84% cash on the under, and it's dropped all the way down to 43.5. No snow for the game at this point, Papa Kyle's, but we'll keep an eye on it. At this point, it's just going to be cold and windy. Browns coming off an ugly 39-17 loss at Miami. They were outgained 491 to 297. Brissett 22 of 35, 212 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. Ran 7 times for 40 yards. Donovan Peoples-Jones caught 5 passes for 99 yards, but Amari Cooper did not look good. Held to 3 catches for 32 yards after picking up 131 yards receiving last out. Nick Chubb ran 11 times for 63 yards and a touchdown. He did lose a fumble. That's a season low for the Browns, 113 yards rushing. Myles Garrett was neutralized. The defense did not look good or apply enough pressure. They finished with 1 sack and 2 quarterback hits and then lost their safety, D'Anthony Bell, who's in concussion protocol. Bills coming off their second straight loss, 33-30, a setback at home to the Vikings. They somehow found a way to lose the game. It was a wildly exciting football game. They now trail Miami by a half game in the AFC East. Allen, 29 of 43, 330 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Also ran 6 times for 84 yards, but mishandled a very costly snap at his goal line. Might not have been his fault, but it looked like the Bills had the game won at that point. He has turnovers in 8 of his last 9 games. He has 10 interceptions this year. That's 2 more than he had all of last season. He's lost 3 fumbles. That's the same amount that he lost last year. Those 10 picks, that leads the NFL. Stephon Diggs, 12 receptions for 128 yards. Gabe Davis had 6 receptions for 93 yards and a touchdown. Singletary ran 13 times for 47 yards and 2 touchdowns, but he also had a costly fumble. I'm not sure why they didn't get more of a bigger bruising back to help out Singletary. I don't know if Hines is the right guy to kind of change the energy. He did have 1 catch for 9 yards in the game. The defense could not get stops when they needed them most. They were able to apply pressure on Cousins, 4 sacks, 10 quarterback hits, but the secondary couldn't keep the ball out of Jefferson's hands. 10 catches for 189 yards. They could use Tre'Davious White. He's still working his way back from a torn ACL last season and Thanksgiving. And McDermott said yesterday that the Pro Bowl cornerback is just not in a position where he's ready. He returned to practice after week 4. They opened the 3-week window where they had to add him to the 53-man roster or designate him on the season-ending IR list. They put him on the roster. So he's on the 53-man roster, but man, you have no White. You have no safety, Jordan Poyer. He missed 2nd game in a row with the elbow injury. That elbow injury caused him to miss all the team's preseason games. He played with a hinged elbow brace during his first 6 weeks of the season. He wasn't in the elbow brace in week 7, and he got hurt. So he's been a non-participant in practices. He's been ruled out of the last 2 games and not expected to be back again here. Tremaine Edmonds, their linebacker, didn't return after a groin injury in the first half, and the Bills can't stop the run. They're not stopping the run at all. Their last 3 opponents, 5.9 yards per rush against them. The Browns are 6th in the NFL in yards per carry at 4.9 yards. This is going to be an angry Chubb who could run the ball down the Bills' throat. Take it away for us, Andy. Browns, Bills. Oh, you're on mute, my guy.
Yeah, I was doing some coughing, sparing you my throat oysters there, Jimmy. But I don't want to talk a lot about this game because we could sound really stupid come the weekend, because I've seen wildly different weather forecasts where it's like, oh, it should be pretty nice, or there could be a foot of snow in Buffalo, and we can affect not only this game but the Maction game earlier in the weekend. So I mean, let's just talk about that real quick. If it is nasty, if we do get the snowstorm, they'll clear the field off. But if it's snowing during the game, we can see something like we saw, I don't know, about 5 years ago, where it was a Colts game up there where you couldn't clear it fast enough. They had to play in the snow, and you you give the advantage to the team who has a good running back or two good running backs. So if that was the case, I'd expect to see more Browns money coming in. If this weather turns more, I don't know how much more you'd want to tickle this under. Like you need wind really to affect that, but it's hard to run routes, crisp routes, and good separation in the snow. But at the same time, if it ends up slippery, sometimes that's a bad thing for defenders. Is they're they're in a reactionary spot, and they have to react to what these wide receivers, tight ends, running backs are doing. And slippery conditions can often hurt the cornerbacks, defenders, off-ball linebackers. So I'm really sketched out about this game due to the weather. I lean Cleveland. Not to, I don't think Buffalo's a bad team. This is kind of a matchup where they might get run on again. Dalvin Cook looked great, and yeah, I don't have much to say that hasn't already been said about last week's game. That was crazy, just craziness. The fact, craziness how that ended. Honestly, I think Cousins was in on the sneak. I've never seen a catch like that contested. By that catch by Jefferson was the wildest thing, and adding the context that it was also 4th and 18. That wasn't just some like first quarter catch that didn't mean anything. And then Gabe Davis didn't catch that ball. Like it probably shouldn't even have gone to overtime. There was so many things that happened in like such a short span. So
12 men on the field.
12 men on the field for the one play. Yeah. So I'm staying away from this one with the forecasts, and yeah, maybe we get a bunch of forecasts for snow. This total keeps getting hit, and then how weather is. It just suddenly shifts, and it hits Toronto instead, and we don't get any snow, and you're looking at a 40, and you can hit that over on Sunday. So staying away for now.
Yeah, so it's nonstop snow Friday and Saturday.
Yep.
So the idea, at least that I've got from the weather, is that it's supposed to stop snowing around 4 in the morning Sunday. And
I just don't trust weather reports that far out, because I've helped. There's no license. You don't need a license for this. I was about to say a licensed snowplow truck driver, but like I've plowed a little snow, and whenever you're looking at, it's going to storm, it always moves around. Like, guess what? I thought the snow was going to start this time. It's going to start that time. Like it's so hard looking at it this far out. So you could end up with a game where it's dumping snow the entire game if this storm shifts at all. So not something I'm getting involved at this early.
How bad is the Browns secondary as we move into the second half of the season? Is the Browns secondary so bad that you can't even be comfortable getting them at 8.5 here against the Bills?
Yeah. I think you kind of said it there. It's sketchy. Like it's a bad defense. Like that's the only thing that would worry me about taking the Browns here. It's been a bad defense. You can really run on them too. And like you said, I didn't understand the Hines move as much. Like maybe that's not the right running back to add. It's not a team that likes to run the ball though. They like to just throw the ball. They have a high percentage of throws. Like maybe they just are settled on, hey, if we're gonna add a running back, he's gonna be a running back who can catch the ball, because we're not the kind of team that's gonna run it 35 times a game. So, I worry about this Browns defense, and a couple of people are saying like if these weather reports keep going one way and we end up with some movement to this under, and you might have some value on Sunday on this over if the storm passes by.
God, I think there's value on it now. It's 43 at most books, still 43.5 at Pinnacle. If this is one of those, games where it's cold and windy and it's about who can run the ball down the other team's throat, well, the Browns will do that. There's no fear. The Bills have no tough running backs that can hit you, right? Can keep hammering the line of scrimmage and hammering you. They have no one to do that. I feel like the Browns and the over, I could bet tonight and still feel good about myself at 43. I'm thinking of doing it, at least putting a half unit on the over where I can then decide if I want to make changes. That's a fascinating game. Browns, Bills, Highmark Stadium. Tasha, what's happening? We got Sharpie in the chat as well. All right, let's move on to the next spot on the board. That's 1 p.m. Eastern. The Philadelphia Eagles, 8-1, 4-0 on the road at the Indianapolis Colts, 4-5-1, 2-2 at home. Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. Man, did I make a fool of this action here. And I even thought, maybe just put like a half unit on the money line on the Colts first half and full game just to cover yourself. And I just stood like a deer in the fucking headlights. Let's take a look at the line history here for Eagles Colts. We have Philadelphia opening up -7.5, but it was at +107, so it was really a 7. Now at 6.5. From a totals perspective, we have the 44. It's gone up to 45.5. Let's go over to the cash flow in this one. An angry Eagles squad, 4,123 tickets in, 61% of the tickets, 80% of the cash on the Colts, believing in what they're seeing from Saturday. 68% of tickets, 87% of cash on the under, and yet it's gone up 1.5 points. Papa Kyle says, would have cashed if Ellinger played.
Probably.
Yeah. I mean, this past week was just blew up my face. And
yeah, I really just thought we had a mandate from the ownership group saying we're going with Ellinger because that's what they had kind of said. And then Jeff Saturday, I don't know. I had some theories on this, but Saturday convinced him to start Matt Ryan, which is still like he's washed, yes, but he's a better option than Sam Ellinger. So much. Such is life.
Oh, it hurt. It hurt bad. I just all right, Eagles on a short week after having their season-opening 8-game winning streak snapped in an ugly 32-21 loss at home to the Commanders. Eagles had the ball for 19 minutes and 36 seconds of that game. It was a thing of beauty for Commanders backers from other than that early strip sack. Other than that, it was just all Commanders. Eagles trailed at halftime for the first time since last season's postseason loss to Tampa. Hurts could not rally them in their first true case of dealing with adversity. Hurts didn't look good. 17-26, 175 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. You had Quez Watkins, 4 catches, 80 yards. Devonta Smith, 6 catches, 39 yards, TD. Dallas Goedert, 3 catches, 23 yards, TD. All 3 receivers had costly fumbles. That Watkins fumble was as exciting as football gets. Like, it's just so much fun, Miles Sanders ran 12 times for 54 yards. This Eagles' dangerous ground game was shut down by the Commanders. Eagles finished with just 94 yards rushing on 20 carries, and we saw what they did to Dalvin Cook the week prior. It's the worst this Eagles defense has looked all season. They just couldn't get stops. Washington, 9 of 12 third downs in the half, finished 12 of 21 on third down, and just looked in control with the ball on the ground. The Colts made Jeff Saturday's coaching debut a winning one, 25-20 in Vegas. We can talk all about the hiring and giving the play calling duties to Parks Frazier. I think we've talked enough about it. One thing that Saturday has done, even though he doesn't have coaching experience other than high school in Georgia, is they at least changed the energy in the locker room, and maybe that was something that was desperately needed. Matt Ryan, back under center for the Colts, played well, 21-28, 222 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. The Raiders have the worst pass rush in the NFL. Now the Colts will face an angry Eagles top 10 pass rush. Paris Campbell caught 7 passes for 76 yards and a touchdown. Colin Granson, 4 for 57. Pittman, 7 for 53. Jonathan Taylor was the star of the game. 22 carries for 147 yards, touchdown, caught 2 for 16. That's his first 100-yard game since the season opener against the Texans. The Eagles' rush defense is weak, and Jonathan Taylor can take advantage of it. The Colts look strong defensively against a weak Raiders offense. 2 quarterback sacks, 5 quarterback hits. Kwity Paye suffered an ankle injury, and Shaquille Leonard underwent season-ending back surgery. So he's gone. Let's see what Skydragon has to say. He says, my Eagles played like garbage. Expect a much better effort this week. Who trusts the Colts off a win anyway? Birdie says, Washington may have laid out the game plan to beat the Eagles, run against them. The middle of that defense was exposed. Taylor may have another big game. No bet for him at this point. Sharpie says, Eagles before last night were bottom 10 versus the rush. Taylor should have 20-plus carries. Under. Take it away for us, Andy. Here we go. Eagles, Colts.
Yeah, another one where I lean dog. I lean under. Probably no play just because I don't have a strong understanding of what the game plan is going to be for Indianapolis. Like, I know what I would do. I know what most people would do, but I don't know kind of what we're going to get from this new coaching regime. That is the game plan too. I mean, a couple of people pointed out, like Birdie said, this run defense without Davis, it was the defense in general was a lot worse. That said, like it took a few moments of magic for Washington to win. And let's wipe that final touchdown off the board. That shouldn't count. Like if you want to look at it with some real context and say, all right, they won a game by a couple points. It was a small win in a face mask. Not only a face mask, but a face mask that caused a fumble and an injury. Now he's hurt after that play. So they shouldn't have had that turnover. And then, just a long bomb where they got absolutely beat over the top. Not only the corner, but the safety was out of position. And they get lucky with a nice strip fumble again on that. They had a lot of luck to get there. And I bet Washington second half. I was upset I didn't have Washington for the full game after watching just part of that game, seeing how they were able to run the ball, how they were able to move the ball a little with Heineke. So I'm fine. I was fine with Washington and the points, maybe losing that game by a little bit, but for them to win, especially with the scoreboard showing what it did with the garbage at the end, like it was a lot closer game. And Philadelphia they had the turnover regression kind of come all at once. So I think the Eagles are a much, much better team than the Colts. This number's probably bang on. I'm fine staying away from this one. Just the uncertainty of the Colts game.
Is this our first buy low opportunity on the Eagles in weeks?
Yeah, I bet you see a lot of people tease this number. I bet you see this in a lot of money line parlays. Like, oh, this is a cheap price on the Eagles. This is an indoor game, but people are right. The Colts will probably run the ball. The Colts will probably be able to run the ball with some success. And this is going to come down to it. This is going to be I don't think anybody who has a bet on the side on this game is going to be comfortable late. Like this isn't, I don't think we see a blowout here. And I certainly don't think you see the Colts, just getting as lucky as Washington did with the turnover. So stay away game for me.
I wonder, I'm curious to see what happens to this line right now. At this point, all the big bets have come in on the Colts, and most of the tickets, 61% of the tickets, 80% of cash, with a small sample size. Harold Williams leaning to the Eagles to bounce back. Sky Dragon's number that he has with his model came out to 3.5. Papa Kyle says that look ahead was -9.5. Leo said, "What's up, man? Thank you for joining us." And Cheshire also thinking that this is probably a buy low spot on the Eagles. This will be no bet for me on Tuesday after the show, but I'd certainly be interested. I mean, if it kept moving towards the Colts, I mean, could you get a first half -3? Is that crazy talk? I mean, what is it right now? It's sitting here, first half -3.5. Man, I mean, if they offered me the Eagles first half -3, it would be a hard thing to not bet at this point. But I guess we'll need more time on this one. And the total going from 44 to 45.5, I give you a free $500 bet right now on the total. Do you go under or over it?
I'd probably go under.
Yeah, it's interesting that it's gone up 1.5 here because you have 68% of tickets, 87% cash on the under at this the infancy at Tuesday, with this line only being out for 48 hours at Pinnacle. All right, let's move on. Next up, 1 p.m. Eastern, Jose Bouquet's New York Jets, 6-3, undefeated on the road, 4-0 at the New England Patriots, 5-4, 2-2 at home at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts, 40 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 11 miles per hour. Both teams coming fresh and rested off of their bye week. This one has a ton of moving parts and it's going to be really fun. The Patriots open -4. They still sort of are there. There's 3.5 right now, Pinnacle, but it's at +106. What's at +111? So it's still pretty much a 4. From a total side of things, opened up a pick'em at 39. There's been a 4-cent move to the under at 39. We cashed on this under in week 8 when they played in that 22. And we cashed on the Patriots. We got the Patriots and the under in that 22-17, I believe was the final score game in week 8. We have 4,262 tickets in, 47% of the tickets, 59% of the cash on the Patriots. And then we have 69% of the tickets and 91% of cash on the under. So when they met, the Patriots don't have this great run defense, but it was Belichick's plan to shut down the Jets' run defense. And that's exactly what they did. They shut down the Jets' run game. They won 22-17. The Jets now have lost to the Patriots 13 straight times. So if they can win, if the Jets can win in Foxborough, they will be in first place in the AFC East, and it'll be their first lead in the AFC East this late in a season since 2010. They hold down the fifth playoff spot in the AFC, and they have the longest active playoff drought in the NFL at 11 years. The Jets were last seen in an impressive Week 9 2017 win at home over the Bills. Zach Wilson, 18 of 25, 154 yards and 1 touchdown. Garrett Wilson was his number one target, caught 8 for 92. Michael Carter ran 12 times for 76 yards and a touchdown. The defense looked excellent. 5 sacks, 8 quarterback hits, just a ton of confidence. That secondary, led by Sauce Gardner, was just rolling. They held Allen to 18 of 34 for 205 yards. Allen was held without a TD pass for the first time since Week 17 of last season against Atlanta. Sheldon Rankins injured his left elbow in the first quarter, didn't return, and Salah says that he's out against the Patriots. Corey Davis remaining day-to-day with a knee injury. Skydragon took the Jets +4, says he hates it, but Bill Belichick, 2 weeks to prepare, don't like being against Wilson fits, or don't like being against. Says Wilson fits the profile of a quarterback Bill Belichick destroys. Skydragon says 4 just seemed too high for both teams' overall talent. And Gerald Jones looking at the Patriots minus the number. Birdie saying the game was horrible for the Jets. First game after the Hall injury, they had just traded for the Jags, Guy Robinson. Jets will be a play for me this week. No rush to bet this at all. And Sharpie says Wilson threw 350 that last game versus the Patriots, and they still lost 22-17. Patriots coming off their bye at 5-4. All 4 teams in the division have winning records. All 4 teams would be in the playoffs if the season ended today. Pats were last seen in that Week 9 26-3 home beatdown of the Colts that ultimately cost Frank Reich his job. Pats offense only put up 220 yards, but it was more than enough. Devontae Parker is practicing this week. He set out the Colts game with a knee injury, expected to be back in the lineup. So is starting center and captain David Andrews. That's going to be a big help. He's missed the last 2 games with concussions. Their defense held the Colts to 0 for 14 on third down and 121 total yards. Judon had 3 of the Pats' 9 sacks. Judon's a monster. Take it away for us here. Great division battle, Jets, Patriots. The floor is yours, Andy.
Looks like Jose likes the Jets in this one. He's saying that makes sense. I'm pretty on market with this one. This is a boring one for me as well. Like, we'll have to see what the Jets offer. This is definitely one I'm going to have on the TV, have on the rotation to watch, because I want to see what this Jets offense is going to try to do after, you lose Breece Hall, you trade for a running back, your quarterback kind of sucks. He's had some moments, but he's costing you in certain moments as well. Honestly, kind of both the situations here, but one just has a better coach, a more experienced coaching staff, and a better defense. Sauce Gardner's great, but they still have some holes. That defense has surprised me. It's better than I thought it would be. And, the same thing kind of goes for New England every year. This defense just shows up halfway through the season. They use the first half, the first quarter at least of the season as kind of an extended preseason. But Judon should be getting some talk for Defensive Player of the Year. Unfortunately, I think that's probably, that ship has sailed, especially if Micah Parsons has a big game on Thanksgiving where the whole world will be watching him. That might just be the nail in the coffin for everyone else. But Judon's great. And this defense against, with extra time to prep for a bad quarterback probably is the look, but I'm not in the business of laying 3 points with the offense I've seen with the Patriots of late. So I'm pretty much on the market here. I think this total's gotten down to the spot where it should be. I looked at an under for a little bit, but it's awful low for me here. So not going to be betting this one. And yeah, this is it's another one of those two where Belichick has been insistent on scheduling these buys against another team coming off a bye. Haven't ever quite figured that out why, but that's kind of a thing that's happened quite a bit for the Patriots over the past few years. Yeah, I'm reading some of these comments. it's a heated rivalry in the chat where I'm just fine watching this one. I really want to get nailed down what the Jets' offensive game plan is going to be moving forward, because like you have to take and win some of these coin flip games. They're in the playoff mix. That's not somewhere they thought they'd be. You know, their win total has been eclipsed at this point. So I mean, they're in territory. Maybe they believed they would be in this territory. Not a lot of people did. So you got to win some of these coin flips if you want to make the playoffs, because it's a log jam there.
It's too bad this total's at 39. At 40.5, I move on it underneath it, but 39, this does feel like it's just going to come right down to that last play, and those are tough. Jets, Patriots right now, and this spread. Let's just see where it is everywhere. Sorry, that's the first half. Go to full game here. Right now on Tuesday evening, we have threes everywhere. God, I feel like that's the right number to back the Patriots, but God, these Jets believe in themselves. And the Jets 4-0 on the road. I feel like 3 is the right number, though. I mean, it's going to be a tight one. I guess I'm going to need more time on this. But 13 straight times the Patriots have beaten the Jets. And that's going to be in the Jets' head nonstop. All right, no move for either of Andy or I in this one at this point, but I'm certainly interested in moving on this game. So let's say you get, so if you had the free $500 bet on the side, at this point you take the Jets +3.
Boy, this is the hardest one yet. Of all the free $500 bets, I think there's a longer tail to Patriots winning by margin. Like, just some of the Jets wins have been a little fluky, and when they weren't, it was because Breece Hall was tearing people up. Like, it would probably be Patriots, and it's very weak.
I think that this Patriots offense is going to be quite a bit better with Andrews back. Like, it's quite a bit better, much improved with their captain and starting center back from what we've seen. So I do have interest in the Patriots here. Let's just take one last look where the cash is again on this one. 47% of tickets, 59% cash on the Patriots, but the market moving towards the Jets. So I'll just leave a Patriots question mark at this point. All right, let's move on. Next up for us, 1 p.m. Eastern, Los Angeles Rams, 3-6, 1-2 on the road. New Orleans Saints, 3-7, 2-4 at home. This one's ugly. Caesar Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana. We'll start with the line history in this one. We have of course, Pinnacle not offering it. Move over to Bookmaker. Bookmaker opening up the Saints -3 at -120. That was yesterday at 8:42 in the morning, Monday, 8:42 in the morning. Now it's up to 4.5. It moved to 4.5 today at 12:08 p.m. from 3.5. So at 12:54 today, you could have got the Saints at -3. There's been a 1.5 move, which I imagine is telling you that Stafford won't be in the lineup. And if you hear his wife talk, he may not play again. And that's tough when you're dealing with a wife who doesn't want you out on the football field. The total opened up at 39 and was dropped to 38.5. Let's take a look at the cash flow here in Rams Saints. We have just 2,975 tickets in, 43% of the tickets and 80% of the cash on the Saints. So big bets came in on the Saints today, obviously. 86% of tickets on the under, and they don't have a cash number for this game. It's the only one that doesn't have a cash one at Sports Insights. The Rams coming off their 5th loss in 6 games. Ugly 27-17 loss at home to the Cardinals. Both teams playing backups, and it was ugly. The Cardinals, Colt McCoy outplayed John Wolford. Stafford out with a concussion. Wolford was 24-36 for 212 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Stafford remains in concussion protocol. Cooper Kupp, 3 receptions for -1 yard and left with a high ankle sprain. He's going to be put on IR. He'll have surgery. He's expected to be out at least a month. And at that point, maybe there is no point to bring him back. Rams are last in the NFL in yards per play. Now they don't have Cooper Kupp. Kupp leads the team with 812 yards on 75 catches, 6 touchdowns. Tyler Higbee's next closest at 385 yards. So now Allen Robinson, who struggled, struggled since the move from Chicago. 29 catches, 292 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's got to step up. Van Jefferson, who has played in just 3 games due to injuries, got to step up, and Ben Skowronek also has to. Against the Cards, Higbee caught 8 passes for 73 yards. Robinson 4 for 44. The run game was horrific. Akers doing nothing. Henderson doing nothing. They ran 20 times for 66 yards. This offense has scored 20 points or fewer in 6 of their last 7 games. They've scored more than 24 points just once all season. I guess that was the Falcons game. LA used their 9th different starting offensive line in 9 games. That's just a recipe for disaster. And it continues. Offensive lineman Alaric Jackson is out for the season dealing with blood clots. Right guard Chandler Brewer is on the IR with an MCL sprain. And the defense tried to keep him in it, but they couldn't get stops when they needed 2 sacks, 7 quarterback hits. Saints coming off an ugly 2010 loss at Pittsburgh. Outgained 379 to 186, 3 of 12 on third down. Andy Dalton, 17 of 27 for 174 yards, 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. They could do nothing offensively. 10 first downs. Juwan Johnson led receivers with 5 catches for 44 yards, touchdown. Olave, 3 for 40. They did nothing on the ground. 15 carries for 29 yards. Alvin Kamara ran 8 for 26 yards, caught 3 passes for 19 yards. The defense tried to keep them in it, but they were on the field for too long. Steelers won the time of possession battle 38-56 to 21-04. The Steelers gashed them for 217 yards rushing, something that the Rams can't do. The Saints did have 6 sacks and 7 quarterback hits. They lost left tackle James Hurst to a concussion. He's in concussion protocol. And the Saints have gotten worse as the season's gone on. The only thing they have going for them is their pass rush. That's it. They have nothing else going for them. Will they make a quarterback change? It's Preston Ekdal's team here, the Saints. He says, Saints suck. I wouldn't lay points with them versus a high school team right now. Take it away for us, Andy. Here we go. We have Rams, Saints.
Yeah, this under is probably your only look. And if you like the under and you wanted to fade this Rams team, you missed the number on both. Like, this took some early week money. Boy, the Saints are a sad sack of a team right now, but you can't bet on the Rams. Like, it's going to be Wolford. And there was hints and, rumors about Stafford's elbow previous to the season, saying like he might have to have surgery after the season. And then once it got down to it and the Rams started to scuffle a little, there was talk of, well, he might just shut it down for the year. I think that might end up being the case. I'm not even sure if he's actually in protocol or if it's just the elbow. If he is in concussion protocol, that's just a nice extra excuse to keep him off the field. I'm not sure you see him again this year. And I can't bet on either of these quarterbacks. I understand playing New Orleans at 3. I can't bet it at 4. I understand playing this under. Maybe there's still some value at this number, but it's gone down enough where I'm probably off this one. This could be a no sweat rocking chair under for you guys. They got the early numbers on this. If you made me play this, I would still play under 38.5. I'm just going to stay off it for now. This game has like a 14-3 kind of feel to it. Without Kupp, I mean, even with Stafford in and Kupp out, their offense, that he was their whole offense for certain games. Games that they lost, he had big games. They can't run the ball at all. The offensive line's beat up. They're running with a backup quarterback, and you don't have Cooper Kupp. This offense these are 2 lost in the woods offenses. So yeah, it's if the Saints see some steam against them, it gets back to a 3, I'd consider it. But boy, do I not want to bet on either of these teams. Beat up offensive lines, bad quarterback play, horrible offenses. Just probably the under or pass.
Sharpie says, I really think this is the best under on the board. Says, yes, we missed the early number, but if they don't score more than 30 points, then it's a good bet. Sky Dragon says, waiting for more books to post team totals. Should be able to find at least a 17 on the Rams and play an under. Is that the best angle of everything?
Maybe that's it. Maybe that's it too. And hopefully we don't get Jeff Saturday and Cooper Kupp isn't walking back through that tunnel, so maybe it doesn't matter if Stafford plays. And boy, with Kupp laid up like that, if you're Stafford, what reason do you have to play? Like, you're well behind two teams in the division now. It's going to be awful tough to get back into the playoffs. I would just shut it down, man. You got your ring. Don't go messing it up here, especially if he truly is worried, if this concussion is a worry. Like, don't mess with that, guys. So yeah, I like that team total under look if you're waiting for that to get posted. And I like the under for new ones on that.
Yeah, I like this. Sharpie saying Rams D still a top 10 D. I think it makes sense. I think this number can still be worked with at 38 and a half. What did it get? What did it open up at other offshores at? How high did it open?
Honestly, I don't remember seeing this one up because of the quarterback stuff. I feel like books were slow to open this because of the Stafford stuff.
Will Hill opened this up a week ago at 42 and a half.
Sure. Yeah, the
A
look
week
ahead
ago.
ones I'm sure
Yeah.
were the other side of 40.
Same with Bet Online, 42 and a half. And that by everything changed Sunday night. Sunday night, everything changed. And it was 39 and a half. So you could have got a 39 and a half. Now 38 and a half available. This Rams team total under could be low hanging fruit, and the under could still be even at this number. Possible. I'm interested. Papa Kyle's got 41 on Sunday at DraftKings. Nice job. Okay, I find this game very appealing, very very appealing, and bum fight that we can make money off of. Let's move on. 1 p.m. Eastern. Detroit Lions 3-6, 1-3 on the road at the New York Giants 7-2, 4-1 at home. We're at MetLife Stadium, East Rutherford, New Jersey. 41 Fahrenheit, mostly sunny, 12 miles per hour. Let's talk about this spot here. I let the market's been very helpful throughout this season, and my record speaks of that, but certainly hurt me this week in a couple different spots, and certainly hurt me getting off of the Giants and getting off that Texans team total under. But, Mills put up 300 plus yards, and there was 2 turnovers in the red zone that could have changed the game, but it didn't. Giants open up here at -3.5. Now they're -3. I understand why the move has gone towards the Lions. This total opened up at 45.5. It moved to 46 tonight at 6:25 p.m. Let's take a look at the cash and see if it all kind of follows suit with this one. 5,371 tickets in. 47% of tickets, 68% cash on the Lions. And then 28% of tickets, 38% of cash on the under. Brady says, we'll be taking the Lions. No rush here. We'll also be on the money line. Terry Walker also looking at the Lions. And Sharpie saying, Giants, baby. Can't wait to smash some Saquon and the over. Mac Beaver says, Detroit looking ahead to Thanksgiving. First road win in 2 years last week. Let's break this down. That's an interesting thought. The look ahead for Detroit. I didn't put that into my capping. Lions coming off their second straight win, 31-30 at Chicago. Back-to-back wins for the first time since October 2020. Also stopped that 13-game road winless streak. Goff, 19-26 for 236 yards and a touchdown. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 10 catches for 119 yards. Jamal Williams ran 16 times for 59. DeAndre Swift has not found his form since the ankle injury. He finished with 6 carries for 6 yards, 1 catch for 6 yards. The defense couldn't stop the Bears' running game, but no defense has been able to do that of late. Bears finished with 258 yards on the ground. Lions finished with 3 sacks and 4 quarterback hits. Okudah had the big interception return for a score. Safety Deshaun Elliott in concussion protocol. I know we've already talked about the Bears, but the way Fields accelerates in the contact right now is as exciting as football gets. He gets even faster right before he's going to put his shoulder through you, and that's just the sign of a very confident football player. Julian Okwara, linebacker, knee injury. Defensive line, Josh Paschal, knee were both hurt in the first half, and we don't know the extent of it at this point. We'll know tomorrow at practice. Lions are 30th in the league, allowing 5.3 yards per carry, and that's obviously why Sharpie's salivating over the opportunity to bet Saquon. But there's 2 teams worse than the Lions, and one of them are the New York Giants. New York Giants allow 5.4 yards per carry. They came in off their bye, dispatched the Texans 24-16 at home, 7-2 start, best for the Giants since opening 8-1 in 2008. Hoping to make the playoffs first time in 2016. Daniel Jones was a clean 13-17, 197 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, ran 5 times for 24, Darius Slayton caught 3 for 95 and a touchdown. Saquon had a career-high 35 carries for 152 yards, caught a pass for 8 yards. The defense bent but didn't break. You could tell the secondary's hurt without Xavier McKinney out there after the hand injury in the ATV accident in Cabo. Mills threw for 319 yards, but 3 of 10 on third down, 4 sacks and 12 quarterback hits. The defense looks good, but The Lions offense as a whole, much, much better than the Texans and better than the Giants. They're 5th in yards per play. They average 5.9 yards per play. The Giants are 25th in yards per snap, 5.1. Detroit in the red zone, 5th in the league. Giants are 20th. I understand why this market's moved towards Detroit, but I've underestimated the Giants and the Vikings this year, and it's cost me. And that makes me hesitant here. Take it away for us, Andy. Lions, Giants.
Yeah, the Giants have a good record. The Giants, honestly, with their matchups they have left, and this is going to sound silly, but the Giants aren't like they're live for the division. If the Eagles bottle it up, they get to play the Eagles twice yet. And, so you kind of control your destiny a little bit if the Eagles slip up again here. That said, I don't think they're that good of a team. Their record's probably a little inflated. I bet them last week, and that's fine. I got a horrible number. I got away with it. The market obviously doesn't think that highly of them. They think they're, if you put this on a neutral site, they think they're about a point better than the sad sack Detroit Lions. So that speaks a lot to the respect that a very, very liquid market, how they feel about this New York Giants team. They should be able to run on this Detroit. It's a bottom 10 run defense. Saquon maybe doesn't have as huge of a game as he did last week, but he has a good game. It's a beat up secondary you should be able to throw against. But just in general, this offense, they need a bad defense to get going. They need a little bit of help. It's been a struggle all year to find these receivers that are going to take this team to the next level offensively. And the Lions are such an up and down team for me. With the injuries over the past 3-4 weeks, it's been really hard to guess what kind of output you're going to get from them. I know we bet the over with the Bears the other week, and maybe that's a look here, but it's another one too, where you could have some bad weather in East Rutherford. Both teams are, it's not a look ahead spot really for the Lions. Maybe it is for the Giants though. That is a massive divisional game on Thanksgiving against the Cowboys. So I'm fine. I'm fine with this number. Like I would have probably liked some Lions at +4. I missed the bad number though, or I missed the best of the numbers. So I'm passing on this one. I don't have a strong take. I think the Lions are live to beat anybody if they can play that way against bad defenses. This is a better defense than the Bears for certain, but if the Lions offense is going to get lively like this, they're live in a game like this. I'm just I tested the waters. I bet the Giants. I got away with it. Honestly, like you said, it was similar to the things we said about the Washington game where there were some very timely turnovers for the Giants to get that cover. So if they're going to look like that against a real sad sack of a team in Houston, I worry about what this Detroit Lion offense will do. So lean Lions, miss the best of the number. No thanks.
I am interested in the Lions, but you're right. I would need some buyback in the market on the Giants. Brady says Houston had 5 drives in the second half that got to the red zone. They got 6 points out of that. Says regression coming for the Giants. It's going to happen. Big Show says Lions fan, don't be betting this game, coin flipping your money at best. Big Show, knowing this team inside and out, says Detroit can pass, which can get you the lead, but they can't run right now to win or maybe not even cover. Sharpie saying Lions D are 32nd in total yards allowed, 32nd in points allowed, 32nd on third down percentage. And Sky Dragon says the Giants regression coming next year. Things just falling into place for them. There might be some truth to that. Papa Kyle says, hope it goes to 2.5. Then he's going to take the G-Men. I need more time here, and I'm interested in the Lions. I don't feel like this Giants team is the kind of team that can put up big points. I really don't. I can understand people betting the over here, but we know that each team's going to gash the other on the ground. The clock's going to be running. If you had a free $500 bet on the total right now at 46, would you go over or under it?
It'd probably be under.
And Sky Dragon says, who trusts Detroit off back-to-back division wins, now back-to-back on the road? That's a great point. Mac Beaver says Lions lay an egg here. Okay, lots to keep working on that game throughout the week. Let's move on to 1 p.m. Eastern. Carolina Panthers 3-7, 0-4 on the road at the Baltimore Ravens, 6-3, 2-2 at home. We're at M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore, Maryland. 41 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 13 miles per hour. Let's take a look at this line history for the Panthers game. And we have it opening up with the Ravens as 13-point favorites. They still are. That moved to minus 107 at one point. It did move at other books because when was this? It opened on Sunday night at 724 at Pinnacle at plus 102, and then it went to plus 110, which is clearly a 12 and a half. Went to plus 116, which is a 12. It's come back to 13. There's been very little movement at this point. From a total perspective, it opened up 44 as a pick 'em. There's been quite a big movement to the under, so I imagine it's 43 and a half everywhere because it's minus 118 to the under 44 at Penny. We'll take a look at the line or the cash and where it is in this one. 2,496 tickets in. It's 50-50 right now with the tickets, but 74% of the cash is on Carolina. Very small sample size at 2,496 tickets. 79% of tickets, 75% cash on the under. Sky Dragon says this game screams 27-17 to him. Mac Beaver says Ravens biggest threat to KC in the AFC. Panthers come in off extra rest and prep after winning 25-15 at home over the Falcons on Thursday night. We saw them beat the Buccaneers at home. Well, I think it was 16-3 or 19-3, one of those, and then go on the road and get destroyed by the Bengals down 35-0 at the half. Come home in the rain, beat the Falcons, control the game, and now they're going back out on the road against a tough team coming in off their bye week. But the Panthers do have extra rest and prep. They're now 2-3 under Wilkes. A PJ Walker, 10 of 16, 108 yards. Didn't look great, but the running game was excellent. And he got hurt. So Baker Mayfield will get the start at quarterback. Panthers ran for a season high 232 yards. Deonta Foreman, 31 carries for 130 yards and a touchdown. Foreman's 31 carries were the most by a Carolina running back since Nick Going's 36 in 2004. And shout out to our Mr. Gokster. So he's at back-to-back Thursdays on Betting with the Bag where he's gone 3-0 and swept the board. And he did it again. He had two looks on Foreman for yards over and the touchdown. And then he had Mariota over rush yards. Terrace Marshall, lone catch, 43-yarder. That led them in receiving. DJ Moore caught 4 for 29 yards. The defense was excellent after a disastrous performance the week prior at Cincinnati. They held the fourth-ranked offense coming in rushing 169 yards per game to 138 yards. Stacked the box, dared Mariota to beat them. He was incapable of it. 5 sacks, 9 quarterback hits. J.C. Horn had an interception, but they did lose Dante Jackson, the cornerback. He tore his Achilles tendon in the fourth quarter, done for the year. Ravens come in rested off their bye week last season, a 27-13 loss at New Orleans. The defense shut down the Saints, holding them to 243 total yards, 48 yards rushing, 4 sacks, 7 quarterback hits, held the Saints at 3 for 11 on third down. Lamar Jackson just 12 of 22 with 133 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. He did run 11 times for 82 yards. He's gone 3 games without a turnover. And they were dealing with a ton of injuries. So Kenyon Drake ran 24 times for 93 yards, 2 touchdowns. As a team, they ran 40 times for 188 yards. But 10 different receivers caught passes. So he was spreading the ball around. Isaiah Likely led the way with 2 catches for 24 yards and a touchdown. Deshaun Jackson injured his hamstring. He caught 1 pass for 16 yards. He's going to be back this week. He's expected to be good to go. They've missed several starters. So, obviously you start at Mark Andrews, Gus Edwards, Rashad Bateman. Without, this offense isn't scary with Rashad Bateman. They have 3 passes all year of 35 yards or more. And they all came in the first 3 weeks. So the pass rush has been big, 19 sacks in the last 5 games, and Justin Houston's been a monster. He has 6.5 sacks in the past 3 games. This is for 33 years of age, second in the league. So Bateman, we know, is on IR. Dobbins' knee is on IR. So Harbaugh expects Edwards to be back. Dobbins back in a few weeks. We don't know about Andrews because his knee and shoulder, so we'll see in practice. And all of a sudden, this outside linebacker rotation is as strong as it's been all year. Tyus Bowser made his season debut against the Saints. And now David Ojabo, a second-round pick, is going to be making his season debut against Carolina. And Marcus Williams is still on track to return at some point. They're starting safety at some point in December. this defense is getting stronger as the season goes on. They've allowed 24 or fewer points in each of the last 5 games, but 13-point favorites against the Panthers. Take it away for us, Andy.
Yeah, it's a big number, and we've seen that time and time again. These big numbers are getting home for the Dogs, but boy, howdy. Are we betting on Baker Mayfield? That feels pretty horrible. Like Taylor Heineke, I get that. People that took that number, he's lively. He's played okay. We've seen that in some of these other big numbers with some quarterbacks with a little bit of life. But Baker Mayfield's been truly atrocious. And some of it last year with Cleveland, it was, he had some injuries. He was playing really beat up. But I don't, he's kind of just, it's the same story. We're coming back from injury. It's an offense that traded away 2 of their 3 best offensive players. And you're going up against an defense that's just getting tougher and tougher. I kind of want to wait on some injury news. I'm not super interested in laying it with Baltimore here, but this is kind of a live betting game, I suppose, where you just hope the Panthers have one nice drive and you feel like you might find some value on Baltimore at some point, or maybe a Baltimore team total over in this game. I'm not sure. Again, the Eastern Seaboard, the weather is sort of hit and miss right now this time of year, but yeah, I'm not in the business of laying this many points with anybody, even though it's somebody pointing it out in the chat. This might be, all season long we talked about KC or Buffalo, who's getting the 1 seed. This might be your 1 seed, man. If this offense stays healthy, this defense gets healthy, this is a team that can kind of match up with anybody. They're a matchup nightmare. You run the ball with your quarterback. You have a nasty tight end that can get open down the seam constantly, and the defense starts playing well. This is a tough team, so I don't want to lay this many points. I certainly don't want to fade a team by using Baker Mayfield. So I might not even watch this one. I always say, I'll be watching this one. I might not watch this one, Jimmy. I don't want to lie to the viewers.
Carolina 0-7 against the spread, last 7 on the road. They've just been Jekyll and Hyde home and road. Is there a possibility we see a similar thing that would happen when they went to Cincinnati 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, it could just be blowout city, but certainly I've just never been in the business of laying huge numbers. It feels so bad.
Yeah,
because there's no incentive. A team winning by 10 late, it just feels horrible. Like, man, all it took was one sack on a 3rd down at the 40-yard line. It was just like, oh man, they would have kicked a field goal there. It feels like it's a pretty decent number.
Mac Beaver says, is Andrew still hurt? He's banged up, and why bring him in for this one?
Yeah,
don't need him. So we'll see tomorrow at practice. Wednesday practice will be the telltale sign. But Papa Cal says, any thoughts on the over/under? This total opened up at 44 as a pick'em. There's been a 12-cent move to the under, so there's 43.5 now on the board. Sharpie saying if he gets a 44, he would bet the under. Sharpie saying Ravens are a first-half team. I'm going to let him score early and grab a better under. What are your thoughts on the under if you had the free 500 bet on the total at 43.5?
Yeah, I like the live betting thing. Kind of see if Carolina's offense is truly atrocious, it might just be straight Baltimore, 36-0 kind of game. But yeah, pre-game, pre-flop, if you made me bet, I would lean under.
A birdie saying, wouldn't that over be a look here? He says Baltimore off extended rest. Panthers may contribute enough to get over 45 is key, and we have some room there. I mean, you'd need Baker to be throwing the ball all over the field. You need a pick 6, couple interceptions as well. I don't know.
I just have so little faith in Baker. It's kind of freaks me out trying to say what can Carolina contribute to that over. Yeah, but I'm pretty nuts on the total. So no bet in this one for me.
James S in the house. Great to see you. Well, I'm Brady say probably going to have to, isn't he? I mean, it's his job on the line here. He wants to be a starting quarterback, and he's getting another opportunity here. So I think he'll, I I do not want a minus 13-point favorite. The big difference in that Bengals game is in a bunch of you like Spenny Penny Bombs, a bunch of you guys were on the Bengals. That was a 7-point spread. Just 7 here. There's Officer 50. Yashala, my guy Robert Cherry in the house. What up, Robert? Let's move on to the next spot on our board. 1 p.m. Eastern. The Washington Commanders, 5-5, 3-2 on the road. Houston Texans, 1-7-1, 0-3-1 at home. Energy Stadium in Houston, Texas. We will start with the line history in this one. We have these Commanders opening up at minus 3.5 at plus 107. So it's really a 3. And they're at minus 3.5 at plus 109 right now. From a totals perspective, opened up at 40, slightly juiced to the under. There's been no movement at all. It did open. This start came out this morning. From a cash flow, probably not a lot of tickets in. We have 2,042 tickets, 26% of the tickets, and 64% of the cash on your Texans. Then you have 34% of tickets and 53% of the cash on the over. That's interesting. Commanders on a short week after their big 32-21 win at Philly on Monday. Dominated time of possession. Excellent on third down. Gave the Eagles their first loss of the season. First half, the Commanders were 9-12 on third down. Had the ball for 23 minutes and 49 seconds compared to just 6-11 for the Eagles. The 17-38 time of possession disparity is the most they've had in the first half in franchise history. Heineken, 17-29 for 211 yards. No touchdowns in the pick. Scary Terry caught 8 for 128. He's a monster. Brian Robinson looked as good as he has all year. I know he had the gunshot wounds to start off the year. He looked awesome. 26 carries, 86 yards. Antonio Gibson ran 14 times for 44 yards. Touchdown, caught 3 for 14. Joey Slye looked very confident from long range, 4 field goals. The defense didn't get a ton of pressure on Hurts. They sacked him once, only hit him once, but they slowed the Eagles' running game down, just like they did the week earlier against Minnesota. Derek Forrest had a pick. Commanders defense top 10 in both third down defense and red zone defense, and we know what they do against the run. Texans coming off a 24-16 loss at the Giants. League worst run defense was attacked 47 times for 191 yards. Dimes handed the ball off 42 times. He ran himself 5 times. 47 rushes. Davis Mills was 22 at 37 for 319 yards, touchdown a pick. Jordan Akins caught 3 for 72. Chris Moore caught 3 for 70. Nico Collins and Brandon Cooks both returned to the lineup. Collins got 5 for 49 and touchdown. Cooks got 4 for 37. And Cooks was stripped of his captaincy before the game. It's got to be a fun talk to have with him. Damian Pierce had 17 carries for 94 yards, caught 2 for 28, did lose a fumble. Texans 31st in red zone offense, and we saw it against the Giants. But the defense was strong, gave the Texans a chance to win. The pass rush finished with 3 sacks and 6 quarterback hits. Birdie says, I'll be on Texas here. No rush to bet this. Said, I would love to bet Texas money line, but I think if Young comes back, Washington may be able to sneak out a win here. Sky Dragon says, Washington win last week was much needed for the win total over, and naturally they'll go from beating the best team in the league to losing to the worst team in the league. Says, such a gross spot. 3.5 with Houston is automatic. Probably still bet the 3. Let's hear. Oh, and let's hear what Dizzy Rothstein in the house, too, says top play of the week is Jets plus 3.5 and Jets money line. Sharpie looking at the Brian Robinson rush yards over. Let's hear what Andy has to say about this spot. Commanders, Texans.
You're right now at BetChris. This is -3, -119. It is super close to tipping. You can bet a 3.5 at -123. I'm not going to jump in on that price. If we get some Commanders money and I get a decent 3.5, I would bet on the worst team in the league here in a home spot. And as I think Birdie pointed out, if Chase Young is back, that's a bit of a fly in the ointment for me. Maybe that's what it takes to push us out to a decent 3.5. I don't think any defensive lineman in the league should be worth a half point, but maybe it's enough sentiment to move it to a spot where I can bet it. Kind of a nasty letdown spot, and Houston moved the ball. You say captaincy, that maybe that was important to him. Maybe you see a little bit of some attitude adjusting there with some of these wide receivers who are realizing they're stuck with this team for this year. The offense moved the ball a little against a bad defense, and the Commanders' defense was getting gashed. They were just getting turnovers at the right times and got a nice lucky win there. Now they go on the road. Laying points on the road with a horrible team has never been a recipe for success. Betting on horrible teams isn't always a recipe for success. But yeah, if this gets to 3.5, this is an ad for me.
Well, there's a 3.5 at minus 115. Let's
see. Fuck it, put me on it then.
Wow.
I'll shop around.
Yeah, that's minus 123 at Pinnacle, minus 118 at Heritage, minus 115 at DraftKings. Wow, Andy, this is going to be a wild game to watch. You're going to be screaming at the TV at times, I imagine. But it makes sense.
Probably, yeah. I mean, it's probably a sell high spot on Washington coming off a win. Like, aren't they really, are they really 5 points better than anyone?
Wow. Leo says the under is fishy. This total, let's just take one last look at it quickly here. This total in this one opening at 40.5 at some books, sitting at 40 at most books right now. And then cash-wise, we see 34% of tickets on the under, 53% cash on the under. What do you think of this total?
Probably right about where it needs to be. I could check my number, but I'm going to be very close to this. Yeah, 40's fine. Like the Texans' offense, if it's successful in the red zone, it might go over. If it pulls some of the shit it did last week, this might stay under. I don't have a strong read on exactly what we're going to get from the Commanders here. If they decide to run and I love Robinson, great story. He looks a little slow. Like he had some success because they were missing some pieces that in that run defense, but he still looked kind of slow. So maybe he has a big game. I don't know if he has a massive game. So
yeah, Mac Beavers, big letdown spot possibly here for the Commanders. Those are the 1 p.m. games. I've not found maybe it's because I got killed last week and worst week of the season.
It's a tough week this week. They aren't sticking out like they were last week.
I did not find clarity here. Let's move on to 4:05 p.m. Eastern. Las Vegas Raiders 2-7, 0-5 on the road at Denver Broncos 3-6, 2-2 at home at Empower Field at Mile High, Denver, Colorado, 43 Fahrenheit, sunny, 6 miles per hour. Sharpie, back to that game we just talked about, says, how do you talk letdown when Washington's 4-1 over the last 5? And Skydragon says, how's that total 40? It seems way too high. Lots of food for thought in that one still to work on. But we're in the afternoon slots now. Raiders, Broncos in Denver, Colorado. Nice weather in Denver for this time of year. 43 Fahrenheit, sunny, 6 miles per hour. Let's move over to the line history in this one. We have over at Pinnacle, it opening up with Denver minus 2.5. It's still there. They're showing a 3 at plus 108, which is just a 2.5, really. From a totals perspective, it opened up 41 as a pick'em. There's been a 1 cent move to the under. 1 cent move to the under. From a total standpoint, we have 3,076 tickets in. 60% of the tickets are on Denver and 93% of the cash. Wow. Small sample size, but 87% of tickets and 99% of cash on the under. And we know what Andy's been doing with the Broncos games, and I've been going with them, and they're 8-1 to the under. But let's start with the Raiders coming off their third straight loss, 25-20 home to the Colts. All 3 losses came as favorites to teams with losing records. Derek Carr finished 24 of 38 for 248 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Broke down during the post-game news conference. And I don't know what to make of it, really. I don't know. I guess what I kind of maybe it's just nothing and who cares, but I guess when it came down to it, I was like, you know what? I guess I'd prefer my quarterback not crying at the press conference.
Yeah, I agree.
Just man up and just be tough. And but yeah, maybe it's just not that big of a deal. Devontae Adams did all he could, and he played well. Devontae was trying hard, man. 9 catches, 126 yards, 1 touchdown, was making something out of nothing. Josh Jacobs ran 21 times for 78 yards, touchdown, caught 6 for 28. The defense couldn't put enough pressure on Matt Ryan. 1 sack, 1 quarterback hit, both delivered by Max Crosby, who finished with 10 tackles. He's the only one doing anything out there. This defense is terrible. Denzel Perryman, rib and hip injuries, was placed on the inactive list before the game. We didn't know that was going to be the case, but this defense just looks so bad. Broncos coming off a 17-10 loss at Tennessee. As we said, 8-1 are the unders. The one game that it didn't go under was this matchup. 32-23, for the Raiders against the Broncos. And that game messed me up. That game's messed me up. Now I see the Raiders who they really are, but for whatever reason, it just kind of, I had some sort of a vividness bias of that football game. And I was like, well, if the Raiders can put up points against that Broncos defense, it's hurt me. They've lost 5 of their last 6. 5 losses have come by combined 21 points. Russell Wilson, 21-42, 286 yards, touchdown pick. Cortland Sutton caught 6 for 66. Kendall Hilton caught 4 for 62. Jalen Virgil, 66-yard touchdown was his lone catch. But the run game struggled. They lose Jerry Jeudy. He missed 7 games last year with the high ankle sprain. He was lost on the first offensive play, and it's his left ankle. And it looks, he's not going to be playing this week. This offense, not getting the running game, not getting the passing game. They were 4-17 on third down. They did nothing. They held Derrick Henry. The defense looked good. 53 yards on 19 carries. Had 5 straight 100-yard games. They scratched Justin Simmons, their safety. They scratched him, and PJ Locke made his first NFL start. Baron Browning also not in the lineup, but he's been very good when he's been in. They lose Billy Turner, their right tackle, to a knee injury. Did not return. We'll find out more tomorrow. And Graham Glasgow, he hurt his shoulder late in the third. So then all my talk about, Glasgow is going to be better than Cushenberry, and then they lose Glasgow, and he's replaced by Luke Wattenberg, he was their center when push came to shove, when you needed to get that win. And he's played 1 snap all year. And now if they don't have Cushenberry and they don't have Glasgow, I don't know how anybody could bet on them. Take it away for us, Andy. I don't know how you can bet on either team. Raiders, Broncos.
I bet the under. 41.5. It's 41 in some sharp books. I don't know. I'm just going to keep going back to go out and score 21 points, Denver. Go prove me wrong. Get to 20. Let's see you do it. I don't know. The fact that they're on a third string center, Russ looks discombobulated half the time. And the defense, despite trading away a piece and having some injuries here and there, is still very, very good. It's an elite defense, a horrible offense. Judy's out. And the Raiders, outside of it's kind of turned into the Rams, where, hey, Cooper Kupp was great, but the team stinks and they lost again. Same thing, hey, Devontae Adams is a really nice addition and he had a good week, and they lost again because they got outscored by 10. The Raiders, these teams are both in such a bad state here. This is an under for me. I'm surprised this isn't. It's a tough spot for the Raiders too. Go play at altitude. I know they do it every year and they're fine with it, but you go to play at Denver early in the season, it stinks because your cardio isn't quite there, and late in the season it stinks because you can end up with weather. It's at a true home field advantage. This just screams kind of the same scoreboard, the score line we saw in the last Broncos game, where it's just another 17-10 game. So getting on the other side of 41 felt pretty good. I got a cheap -107 on an under 41.5 here.
Yeah, it's still available right now under 41.5 at -107. Why is this not 39? Because the Raiders defense is so bad. Is that why?
Yeah, I think maybe it's finally hey, maybe this is a spot where the Denver Broncos offense gets going. But now it's but you don't have Judy. Russell Wilson looks like he's lost half the time. They looked kind of horrid last week. I'm not sure how you just suddenly get it going. It's a bad defense, but it's not an offense that seems to have a game plan. You're on your third string center, like we said. You lost wide receiver, and the game plan sucks. The play sequencing, the play calling, and the play execution, all 3 parts of everything putting this game plan together have just stunk out loud. And both these coaches probably shouldn't be coaching at the start of next year.
Yeah, I don't know how we just go right back to the well on the under 41.5.
I'm fine. I'm fine just doing it every week until it stops.
It was I think
I'm playing. I'm playing with house money on Denver under, so I'm there.
In saying that, though, I guess some books have moved it to 41. Let's just move over to what's Pinnacle done.
Yeah, Chris is down to 41 flat, so it's starting to see some movement that way. I'm not sure this crosses 40 because of the just the fact that the Raiders defense is pretty bad.
God, it feels like
the goalie's out in Buffalo.
Okay. All right. That's some ugly games. Now we have a fun one. 4:25 p.m. Eastern, Dallas Cowboys 6-3, 2-2 on the road at the Minnesota Vikings 8-1, 4-0 at home. We're at US Bank Stadium in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We'll start with the line history in this one. Cowboys, Vikings. There we go. We have the Cowboys opening up -1 at -117. There's been a move. Well, it's now -1 at -107. So there's been like a 9 or 10 cent move towards the Vikings. So total wise, opening up 47 as a pick'em. There's been an 11-cent move to the over at Pinnacle. Then we go to the totals here. We have, for the cash flow in this one, we have 7,906 tickets in, 41% of the tickets, 71% of the cash on the Cowboys. Then we have 23% of tickets, 71% of cash on the under. We've seen a very interesting line with the Giants at home, and now we have a very interesting line with the Minnesota Vikings at home. 4-0 at home, 8-1, and they're a dog here. The Cowboys coming off a disappointing 31-28 overtime loss at Green Bay, blew a 14-point lead heading into the fourth quarter for the first time in franchise history. They were 195-0 in regular season in the playoffs in that situation. Dak, 27 of 46, 265 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. CeeDee Lamb caught 11 passes for 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. Dalton Schultz, 6 for 54. With Zeke Elliott out with a knee injury, Tony Pollard ran 22 times for 115 yards and a touchdown, caught 3 for 13. The Packers stormed back, scored the final 17 points, and it was the worst the Cowboys' defense has looked all year. 2 sacks, 2 quarterback hits. They said they're going to be very cautious with Elliott's knee and will not rush him back. Probably I'll save him for Thanksgiving. Cornerback Anthony Brown is in concussion protocol. Vikings coming off their 7th straight win, most impressive of the year, defeating the Bills 33-30 in a wild overtime victory. At Buffalo rallied from a 17-point deficit. They've matched their best record through 9 games since 2009. 7 straight games they've won, best since an 8-game winning streak in 2017. They've rallied to win when trailing with 2.5 minutes less, or 2.5 minutes or less remaining regulation 5 times this year. They believe in each other. And maybe I should stop looking at the stats of their defense because it's getting me in trouble. Although I was fortunate not to get involved with the Bills. There was many times I came close, and I was very, very fortunate. It could have been a worse weekend than it was. Kirk Cousins, 30 of 50 for 350 yards, 357 yards, touchdown, 2 picks. Justin Jefferson, 10 catches for 193 yards and a touchdown. That was the catch of the decade, and for me at this point, the best catch I've ever seen on 4th and 18. It was absolutely spectacular. I was lost for a while. I could not believe that he could get that high, that he could pull it down one hand and then take it out of the DB. I think it was Lewis, or took it out of Lewis's hands. It was just absolutely spectacular. Absolutely incredible. Dalvin Cook had 14 carries for 119 yards and a touchdown. Their defense, again, was able to bend and somehow not break. I mean, they didn't get pressure, and 2 sacks, 4 quarterback hits. The Bills were 7 of 13 on first down. The Bills had 311 yards through the air, but the Vikes did enough to win the game. Patrick Peterson, 2 interceptions. We know that Cameron Dantzler got hurt. He's been placed on IR. The cornerback to replace him was the 4th rounder, Caleb Evans, and he left after sustaining a concussion. So who's there? Cornerback. Vikings are 29th in opponent's yards per pass attempt, 28 in opponent yards per play, 31st in red zone defense, but they keep winning football games. It's wild. Take it away for us, Andy. Cowboys, Vikings.
I bet this over. I've kind of settled on that. Like you said, that I like the Dallas defense. I like things about the Dallas defense, but the secondary kind of got beat like a drum late, and they got beat by a rookie and a quarterback who hasn't looked like he's had a connection with his rookies all year. Now you got Jefferson, you've got Hawkinson, you got Thielen, even Cook, and that's the other part too. Cook should be able to run. Cook should have a successful day. It's it's a defense that can probably be beat by Minnesota, but at the same time, Minnesota's very weak outside as well, and the Cowboys' offense looked pretty good through I don't know through 3 quarters there. Like we've seen this offense perform well. Minnesota has turned up a little bit of pass rush. I mean, they've been able to get some pressures, not always getting Holmes and Darius Smith looking like a great grab, but yeah, I think this should be closer to 50. Cowboys playing indoors rather than having to play another northern outdoor game here. I wish they'd been able to pull that out. That was a shitty loss. I had -5 in that one. Got a bad number in the Cowboys. They look great. This offense looked great. That's kind of what I was banking on. Like you can beat up on this Green Bay defense. I think the offense. I think the offense looks a lot better indoors. And yeah, there's a 47 at Chris. I had to grab that.
Yeah, over 47 to -111. I find it interesting that the big bets have come in on the under thus far. There's actually a decent sample size of tickets for this one, more than any other game except Cleveland Buffalo, and of course the Thursday nighter. Yeah, I get it. I completely get it. The market moving towards the over, so who cares that there's bigger bets coming in on the under? They're offering it at a better price. So I get why you're on the over here. I do. And I know that the Vikings fans who are paying their mortgage because of this Vikings team are laughing. They're laughing at all of us, laughing at the line, saying, "You idiots. We're just going to keep making – you're going to give me the Vikings who are 8-1 as a plus money." And respect to you guys who keep cashing on the Vikings. But for me, this would be a Cowboys or no bet. But Newcorker saying second straight game on the road for the boys could be an issue. Sharpie looking at the over as well. The over makes sense to me. The over makes a ton of sense. It was shocking to see the Cowboys defense look as bad as it did. And did you change your numbers after watching the Packers put up 17 unanswered on that defense?
Not really. I made more adjustments for Green Bay than anything, but I like Dallas. If they're going to be susceptible to that sort of stuff, then this is a bad matchup for them.
Oh, yeah, I think the over does make sense. I think it makes a ton of sense, and I don't know how the Vikings keep doing it. That was but look, that was a big win with it. They shown a ton of heart. I guess that's what it is, Maybe sometimes you have to put a line through numbers when you're seeing the heart that this team is displaying. I won't be on the Vikings under any circumstances. It's Cowboys or pass, and I'd like the over that you are on. Andy on the over 47 right now available at Bet Chris and Bookmaker at -111. Other books have gone to 47.5, which is kind of key. All right, let's move on to the next game at 4:25 before our Sunday nighter and Monday nighter, and we put a bow on tonight's show. 4:25 p.m. Eastern. Cincinnati Bengals 5-4, 2-3 on the road. Pittsburgh Steelers 3-6, 2-2 at home. Acrisure Stadium, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Cold, 29 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 14 miles per hour. Bengals coming in fresh off of their bye week, and this is the largest spread in Bengals history as a favorite in Pittsburgh. They've never been this big of a favorite before, ever. Let's see what the line history has done over at Pinnacle. Cincinnati opening up at -4.5, -106. It's now -4.5, -104. But total perspective opened up at 42, slightly juiced to the over. It's now juiced pretty heavily to the under, so it must be a lot of 41.5s out there. Take a look at the cash flow here. We have 4,514 tickets in. 53% of the tickets and 95% of the cash on the Steelers. Wow. 45% of the tickets, 76% of the cash on the under. Birdie says he'll be on the Bengals again, and he's no rush. Sharpie says, with Watt back on that Pittsburgh D, this offense without Chase, says take the points and the under. Mac Beaver says, first time around, Bengals had 5 turnovers, and we're still in it at the end. Pittsburgh is a different team with Watt, though. Let's start with the Bengals coming in fresh off their bye week last seen in that 42-21 beatdown of the Panthers in Cincinnati. They were up 35-0 at the half, outgained the Panthers 464-228, 30 first downs compared to the Bengals 13. Burrow was 22-28 for 206 yards and a touchdown. It was the Mixon show. Right when I'd sort of written him off. I loved the way he was at the press conference afterwards. It was impressive. He showed his character in that press conference, and I like him. 22 carries for 153 yards, 4 touchdowns, caught 4 passes for 58 yards and a touchdown. He came into the game with 3 touchdowns all year. With Jamar Chase out of the lineup, T. Higgins caught 7 for 60. Tyler Boyd caught 5 for 44. Their first-round pick, Dax Hill, was forced into action. They've been kind of hiding him. Broncos are so messed up at cornerback. So Chidobe Awuzi's on the injured reserve. Mike Hilton and Trey Flowers were out. And, didn't matter. The Panthers couldn't do anything about it. And the Steelers won't be able to either. They did lose Chris Evans with a knee injury. It's not a big deal. Backup running back. And then Lyle Collins has looked awful this year. They're their right tackle. So you know who he'll be going up against. TJ Watt. And that could really give him a long, horrific day. Steelers coming off that big 2010 home victory over the Saints, dominated all facets of the game. They outgained the Saints 379-186, 28 first downs compared to the Saints 10. Won the time of possession battle 38-56 to 21-04, 9 of 17 on third down. And there's some wild stats. There's going to be some wild stats here for the rest of the show because the Steelers stats and then the Cardinal stats, there's some wild shit going on. But, of course, Tomlin is a dog. Unbelievable. 15-8 straight up and 17-3-3 against the spread as a home dog. I mean, he's a monster in that role. Kenny Pickett, 18 of 30 for 199 yards, ran 8 times for 51 yards and a touchdown. Deontay Johnson caught 4 for 63. Warren caught 3 for 40. They ran 43 times for 217 yards. Najee, 20 carries for 99 yards. And TJ Watt was a monster. Alex Highsmith had both of the Steelers sacks. Miles Jack didn't play due to a knee injury, and Minkah Fitzpatrick underwent an emergency appendectomy on Saturday. So Fitzpatrick won't be in the lineup. We don't know about Miles Jack. And home underdogs have been very good this year. 30-23-3 against the spread. Take it away for us, Andy. Bengals, Steelers.
So there was a little news on the Fitzpatrick front. Tomlin said there's a chance that Fitzpatrick plays this weekend after the appendectomy. I don't see it. I don't know why he said that. I feel like that's always a multiple week kind of thing, but if he plays, it's maybe a boon to this defense. If they rushed him back and he's not himself, maybe it's actually maybe a negative if they bring him back too fast. Boy, this is a tough place to go play. I lean Steelers here. I want to bet them. They have bad quarterback. It's one of those games where it's probably going to hinge on some shitty decisions made by Kenny Pickett. Like if he makes some really horrible decisions and we get some bad turnovers in bad spots, not all interceptions are created equal. The arm punt on like 3rd and 15 from midfield where they catch it at the 10, it's like, that's life. But those turnovers that turn into long returns, turnovers in the shadow of your goalpost, turnovers in the red zone, just hurts so bad. It sucks to try to have to back this kid because I don't think he's very good. But laying 4.5 on the road in a divisional spot, I don't know. Like that's a big ask when you're missing your best defensive secondary piece. You're missing your best receiver, and you're going to have problems with TJ Watt, like you mentioned on the line. So if Minkah plays, I'd love to hear. That'd be crazy if he just bounces back after like a week after an appendectomy. That'd be nuts, but I don't see it. But Watt in that matchup and, just getting this many points at home this late in the season against a Bengals team that, they had a nice spot to beat up on the Panthers apparently, but I'd lean Steelers. I just haven't played it yet.
Yeah, I mean the Sharps are all over the Steelers, and line is not moving as much as I would expect it to. So, but we went over Tomlin's record as a home dog, divisional home dog. New Yorker saying road favorite in divisional game. Be careful. Wow.
You know what? Put it on. Put it on. Baby girl, put it on me. Yeah.
All right.
I got that song in my head.
on the Steelers. Andy on the Steelers.
4.5 minus 103 at low vig. Look at that.
Let me see if I can. So you got 4.5 minus 103. Well, I can get you a minus 102 at 5.
Oh, I'd love that. That's even better.
Every cent counts. 4.5 minus 102. Man. Wow. Sky Dragon says Cincinnati just 2-3 straight up. Sharpie saying don't forget Chase is out and the O is bad without him. They had a great spot versus a bad D when Mixon went off. Sky Dragon looking at Pitt and maybe the over. Speaking of the over, and I know we want to spend more time on the Sunday Nighter and Monday Nighter, which is next, but what are your thoughts on this total here in this one on the late afternoon card? It opened at some offshores at 43, now sitting at 41.
I understand the move to the under just based off what we saw last week. The Bengals are a better offense than the current Andy Dalton led Saints, but that matchup with Watt, if he has a big day, if they play well if the linebackers cover, if you don't let Mixon get involved in the run and passing game, yeah, I guess I understand to the under.
Sharpie is an interesting look, leaning towards the Bengals team total under. I'd love to see what I'm being offered right now. 23.5 for the Bengals. 16.5 for the Steelers. That's 16.5 juice to the over, as you'd imagine. Wow. God, this is a tough card so far. But Andy's making moves and saving the show because of it. Andy on the Steelers plus 4.5 minus 102. This sometimes happens when I get, take it right.
You're shell shocked. It's like you just came back from the Western Front.
It was the worst week of the year, and I usually bounce back okay, but it did hurt bad. Thank God for live betting. Thank God for our Sunday night, Monday night live shows. Oh. Speaking of our Sunday, Monday night live shows, we have two real interesting games this week. You can join us right here on Pub Sports Radio. Don't forget Thursday night as well. Thursday night's a beauty. Titans Packers. Connor Mack will be hosting that one. And our Friday night live stream this week's our first foray into NBA live bet stream for Bucks Sixers with razor sharp picks and Dabby Cab. Let's talk about the Sunday Nighter here. 8:20 p.m. Eastern. Kansas City Chiefs 7-2, 3-1 on the road at the Los Angeles Chargers. 5-4, 2-2 at home. We're at SoFi in Inglewood. We'll start with the line history here in Chiefs Chargers, and we have these Chiefs opening up minus 6.5, minus 113. That's where they are right now. Minus 6.5, minus 111. This total opened up at 49.5, and it's jumped up to 50.5. Take a look at the cash flow for the Sunday Nighter. 3,240 tickets in, 52% of the tickets, 74% of cash on the Chargers, who always seem to play the Chiefs tough. Then you have 71% of tickets on the over, but just 19% of the cash, which is strange. It's gone up at point. Chiefs coming off a 27-17 win at home over the Jaguars. That really got me. I said over and over again I would only move on the 10, and I still moved on the 9.5 just because I wanted action. I guess it was a mistake. Patrick Mahomes, 26-35 for 331 yards, 4 touchdowns and a pick. Ran 7 times for 39 yards. Kelsey caught 6 for 81. Valdez-Scantling caught 3 for 60 and touchdown. Kadarius Toney stepping up in a big way. 4 catches for 57 yards and a touchdown. Ran twice for 33 yards. Cared very much when Juju Smith-Schuster took that hit from Cisco and is in concussion protocol. Pacheco, 16 carries for 82 yards, did lose a fumble. The defense was strong with 5 sacks, 6 quarterback hits. McCole Hardman was inactive. He had 5 touchdowns in the past 3 games. And Chris Lamons, their cornerback, is in concussion protocol. And right tackle Andrew Wiley left with a left elbow injury and did not return. It's been 2 games in a row where the Chiefs have put up enormous amount of yards and not scored many points. And, I'm still hurting off that fucking plus 9.5. So stupid. All right. Sharpie says, this is my team. Too many linemen out, but Herbert has a good record versus Mahomes against the spread, but this team is the worst 5-win team in the league. Birdie says, Chiefs for me and the under. Alex Ramirez looking at Chargers and the points. Mac Beaver says, big coaching mismatch, Reed versus Mr. Analytics. All right. Let's talk about these Chargers coming off that 22-16 loss to San Francisco without Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. Herbert could do nothing on offense. We know how bad the running game is. Chargers finished with 12 first downs and 238 total yards. No, the 49ers are really good defense, but still, Herbert was 7 of 14 for 35 yards in the second half. That's the fewest pass yards in a half in his entire career. They scored a touchdown their opening possession and then 3 field goals the rest of the way. But of course, I was on first quarter, first half. Thank God we live bet the shit out of it. But Herbert, 21 to 35 for 196 yards, touchdown pick. DeAndre Carter caught 4 for 64. Joshua Palmer next with 3 for 44. The Chargers again got nothing out of their running game. 16 carries, 51 yards. This pass rush without Bosa is very pedestrian. Khalil Mack had the only sack and quarterback hit in the game for them. They lost their defensive lineman, Ogbonia, and their tight end, Gerald Everett, to injuries in the first half. Ogbonia with a knee, Gerald Everett with a groin. They lost Christian Covington, another defensive lineman, with a pectoral in the fourth quarter. And Staley, would put the 2 safeties deep to stop Tyreek. He didn't do that the last time these teams met, and Chargers should have won that game. And now he's coming in beaten up. Is Keenan Allen going to be back? Take it away here for the Sunday nighter. It feels like we need more info on the Chargers, or do we just bet the Chiefs right away? I'd love to hear your breakdown.
I think you might get a better number too if you get good news on the Chargers receivers. Like I joked last week, and I joked a bunch of times all season. Keenan Allen just may never be back, but suddenly we maybe have some good news. I don't know. I think these offensive line injuries are more important than anything. Kansas City Chiefs, not known for their pass rush, but have a couple guys that can get after it. That's a big problem when you've gone through a bunch of different offensive linemen. Pipkins missed last week. I need a bunch of clarity on injuries here. This is a big number to be laying on the road in a divisional game, but man, the Chargers are beat up. So no interest in betting this one until we get some clarity, but there's just a laundry list of injured guys that I need to know a lot more about to get a little more. Luckily, it's the late game. I guess we'll get some news throughout the day as well. Coaching mismatch, someone mentioned. Yeah, I'm out on Staley. I'm kind of out on how he's wasting Herbert. I guess you can blame injuries for that as well, but man, the Chargers, like someone said, I don't know if they're the worst 5-win team ever, but they're clearly worse than their record shows right now. I don't think this is a team that has a path to the playoffs currently. They'd have to win, some games like this. They'd have to luck their way into some games they aren't supposed to win. So, yeah, looking at, just like Chiefs Eagles money line parlay. What's that? Probably minus 130. That's not a bad look. Take some good teams to have some bounce backs. I suppose the Chiefs aren't really a bounce back. They're playing well, but no interest laying it at this number with so many injuries still laying out there.
That's an interesting money line parlay, Chiefs Eagles. Yeah, we got to get more information on this one. Just comment on Skydragon, Dennis Garcia's comment, and then we'll move on to the Monday nighter. He says, I know all the Chargers problems, but just like last week, if you're going to give me a TD with Herbert, I'm going to take it. Even better, Kansas City isn't coming off a bye like San Francisco, and the Chargers are at home. You agree with that take?
Yeah, I took the Niners second half in that one too, though. That was I'm not so sure, I'm not so sure they were the more deserving team in that game. That was a squirrely second half, to say the least. So, yeah, it's a divisional game. It's a bunch of points. If you get a bunch of good news on the Chargers, it would have to be some good news on the offensive line, not just the wide receivers. There's a case to be taking the points. It's just such a shitty home field advantage, too. It's barely home field, man. It's going to be a sea of red. They have no fans. They have the worst fans, guys. It's rough, so Chargers and the points feels like a Grin and Barrett kind of bet, but not until you get more news.
They have a big fan here in our chat, though. Our man Sharpie has Charger bolts tattooed on the sides of his head. So we have one real fan. They have one real fan. Daniel Hernandez says Chargers with the spread. Alex Ramirez says Chargers. Says take it, Jimmy. And Trans Canada says he's not even going to ask, but he knows the answer, and that's he wants us to talk about his Winnipeg Jets, which we're not going to do. Okay, let's move on to the Monday nighter, and we head to Estadio Azteca. In Mexico City, 58 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 14 miles per hour. Niners, Cardinals. This is going to be really fun for our live bet stream on Monday night. A lot of moving parts in this one and a lot of funny stats from the Cardinals that were dug up. Niners open up -7.5. They're now -8.5. That's wild. I mean, that's just wild. That's too many points immediately. But the total opened up 43.5 as a pick 'em. It hasn't moved. So why don't we take a look at the cash flow in this one? Yes, this is elevation. I don't have the exact number. Maybe Andy does. 2,383 tickets in. 40% of the tickets, 43% of the cash on Arizona, on the spread, of course. 54% of the tickets, 77% of cash on the under. Papa Kyle says, is the field going to be safe to play? Hopefully those issues that we used to see down here have changed.
But yeah, they had to cancel. I mean, the one game, I think it was a Rams-Chiefs game that they just ended up not even playing because a concert had just ruined the field the night before. And, excuse me, the elevation question, higher than Denver. I don't remember exactly how much, but this is higher than Denver. It is like 6,000 or 7,000 feet up in the air. So punts will be flying. Home runs will be hit, I guess.
And Skydragon says, is Kyler healthy? Is it better if he doesn't play? Let's start with the Niners, led by their defense, coming up that 22-16 win at home over the Chargers. Second straight game that their defense has pitched a shutout in the second half. Held the Chargers to 12 first downs, 238 total yards, shut down Herbert, fewest passing yards in a half in his career in that second half. Jimmy G, 19-28 for 240 yards. Ayuk, 6 catches for 84, did lose a fumble. Deebo Samuel returned from injury to run 4 times for 27 yards, caught 2 for 24, but it was Elijah Mitchell. God, that's going to be a nice 1-2 punch. I love Elijah Mitchell. 18 carries for 89 yards. McCaffrey had 14 carries for 38 yards and a touchdown, caught 4 for 39. Niners finished with 3 sacks and 9 quarterback hits. Hufanga had an interception. Eric Armstead is expected to return. We won't know for sure, but that will be a nice boon to the front 7 for the Niners. They get defensive tackle Eric Armstead back. He is being out since week 4. The Cardinals have won 3 of their last 4 games against the Niners. They swept the season series last year. They're 7-1-1 against the spread in their last 9 games, which is a crazy stat. Nothing is as crazy as Cliff Kingsbury's numbers, though. They're crazier than everything. Everything I can think of. Crazier than Tomlin's numbers. This is from ESPN Stats and Info. He's the only coach in the history of the league since the start of the Super Bowl era to have an outright winning record as an underdog and a losing record when his team is favored. What an ass clown.
Yeah.
The Cardinals come in off a big 27-17 win. I guess it's big at the Rams. Keeps their season alive, I guess. I mean, Kyler Murray, hamstring issue. Colt McCoy started, led his team to victory. 34th start of his 13-year career. He was great. 26-37, 238 yards, 1 touchdown. Hopkins caught 10 for 98. Rondale Moore caught 9 for 94. James Conner ran 21 times for 69 yards, 2 touchdowns, caught 3 for 17. The defense looked very strong. Maybe it was because it was going up against the Rams, who are so bad, which is legit. Yeah. But the defense, 3 sacks, 12 quarterback hits. Buda Baker had the interception. They returned for 53 yards. Zach Ertz hurt his knee on the opening drive, and he's out for the rest of the season. So now they have no Ertz. And Ertz had played 86% of the team snaps. It's a big loss. Left tackle DJ Humphries was inactive, back injury. Here we go. The Monday Nighter will be live betting right here from Estadio Azteca. Take it away for us, Andy. Niners, Cardinals.
Yeah, and like you said, the Cardinals' defense looked good, but I think a lot of that was just a case of you went up against John Wolford and, kind of a sad sack running game that couldn't do anything. Obviously, the opposite of that, they have 3 decent running backs in Mitchell, CMC, and even a little bit of Deebo. This is probably too many points, man. But I'm not interested in backing Colt McCoy against a good defense, an actual good defense, a team that can get after it a few different ways, a good defensive scheme, a good coach, a much better coach, a coaching mismatch on a true neutral. I don't know. I need to hear a little bit more about the Kyler Murray situation. I'm not sure. Like I'm thinking about this market right now and where it sits. Are you saying this is like a midpoint, or I don't know where how do people feel about the Kyler Murray injury? What's the trend there? I guess I'm just not up to speed on that at this point in the week. But did it feel like this is a multi week thing, or if it was just like I wasn't quite ready? My hamstring just wasn't ready to go. So he's probably still just going to come in questionable for the week. I'm guessing it's more of a 75-25 he plays, and this number's kind of counting that in. At that point, it's probably too many points still. Like, Ertz hurts a lot, and this defense has played a little better. It should probably be 7. But, man, I'd maybe rather just tease this with the Bills. Like, Bills 2.5, Niners -2. I'd feel a lot better. I'd feel a lot better just playing a fun teaser on this one.
And is it the idea is that this isn't really going to be that neutral? It's going to be a sea of red of 49ers fans. Is that true?
I don't know. Like I know Dallas has a strong fan base in Mexico. I guess I'm hearing that as well, though, that the Niners have a strong fan base here. So it'll be a neutral site, but it sounds like it's going to be pretty heavy Niners fans in the stands. We're learning about these other countries. Apparently, Germany is a Seahawks town. England loves the Vikings for some reason, which is silly considering the history of the actual Vikings in that neck of the woods. But yeah, apparently in Mexico is Niners and Cowboys, so it could turn into a little bit of having the crowd at their back as well. But yeah, it's too many points. I still don't want to take it. I backed the Cardinals last week. That was a roller coaster ride of a market. Just, hey, yes, I've got the Cardinals at +4, and now Stafford's out. And then it's like, yeah, but so is Murray. Like, hey, well, we'll see what happens. And truthfully, like if you'd have given me the 4 and said, hey, it's Colt McCoy versus John Wolford, and like I would have taken the 4 every day of the week and twice on Sundays, which is when that game was played. So I'm fine with backing McCoy against someone like that. I'm not fine backing him against a truly good team.
It's going to be extremely fun live betting scenario. And I guess we just need to know who's at quarterback for the Cardinals. What's your first feel on the 43.5 as a total?
I mean, the Niners aren't this team that's going to come out and drop 40 on you. It's more of a ball control, run the ball, nice short stuff, get it to Ayuk, get it to it's probably about right. Like, if I had to play either way, maybe an under, just because I think the Niners can really limit the Cardinals. But yeah, it's a pretty good total.
Well, we need more information here at who will be a quarterback for the Cardinals, but we have the opportunity to live bet it all together, which I can't wait for. Monday night, we just destroyed the live betting this past week. It was the best performance I've had live betting of the year, but of course it came on my worst week of the year. Can't put it all together. There you have it. There is every game on the board. Let's do a quick review of action, and I've got very little here. But Andy doesn't. Andy's got a lot of shots. He hits the over 41 at -105 in Titans-Packers, and I'm very interested in it. I'm going to be staring at that tonight. We talked about a possible team total over 23.5 with the Bears. I know a ton of people are going to be on that over. But the Browns +8.5 and the over in the Browns-Bills game, I'm ready to trust it now. I understand at this point they say the snow is going to be done at 5 in the morning, at 4 in the morning. That could change drastically and change the game, but it just feels like points are going to be scored and might be an overreaction to the weather at this point. I'm going to sit with that, but it would not surprise me if I bet the Browns and the over tonight. I would not surprise me. Then we have next up Eagles Colts. Sharps on the Colts at this point. It's going to take more study. Jets Patriots. God, I kind of like the Patriots. I don't know if I can pull the trigger Then Rams Saints. I still think the Rams team total under and the under can be bet right now, and I plan to do that. Then Lions Giants. I get it. I get that the Giants are at home, 7-2, 4-1 at home. The Vikings are at home, 8-1, undefeated at home, and the market on the other side of both, betting the other side of both these games. And God, I don't know if I can do it. Panthers, Ravens, we have stayed off. Then Andy's on the Texans plus 3.5 at -115. He's on the under 41.5 in Raiders, Broncos. And I think, you know what? We're playing with the house's money. I don't like that mindset, and I don't feel it after losing this past week, but that makes sense to me to go right back to the well there. Then Andy's on the over 47 in Dallas, Minnesota. I like that look as well. Andy's on the Steelers plus 4.5 at -102. Off of the Sunday nighter Chiefs Chargers at this point, but we need more information, and we need more injury information in the 49ers Cardinals. That is everything. Jonathan Yim, we will talk about the possibility. I don't see if it's up to him. Jonathan Yim now down to the final two in our Survivor split. Take $1,000 each and play for the rest. It makes sense to me if he's down, but both people will have to be down. So we'll ask him, and I know that Jose will help us with that. Alex Ramirez, Terry Walker, Mac Beavers, Breadman, Papa Calls, Leal, Harold Williams, Sky Dragon, Sharpie, Damon Santori, Daniel Hernandez, Trans Canada, Gerald Jones. Thank you guys so much for your support of the show. Deacon Mike means a ton to us. Thank you so much for your support. Don Mac, I love it. Mac Beavers, thank you. I love the opportunity to cap the card with you each and every week, Andy. It's something I look very much forward to. Great work today, and I look forward to seeing the fruits of our labor. Do you have any last words for the cappers here supporting the show?
No, I got nothing this week. Just live, laugh, love, or whatever. Do some of that shit, the stuff on the, when you go to your aunt's house, the stuff it says on the walls. Maybe listen to that this week.
The stuff on your aunt's walls. It's nice. It's nice. Alex Ramirez says, yes. Let's milk this shit. Let's have a big week 11. I need to bounce back, so let's get out there and get that fucking money.